Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 216. Today we'll be looking at ghosts, 37 parallel UFOs, Aboriginal artwork, and a few other topics. Hellyer. And I'll just kick off the intro and check the music. I can already see a problem here, so better fix that. To the studio, going out. Hello. Good to be back. So I hope everybody's well and ready to go. Keep it civil on the side, and no swearing, and no trolling, and no advertising. I just had someone do that before. So let's switch screens. I don't know about you, but I'm getting sick of hearing about Tyler. I've been exposing him for 3 years now, and it's still, we got people that's too stupid to realise what's going on, fortunately. But there's always 1 in 10 that see the light once they've seen my stuff about him and do their own research to back it up, fact check it. So yeah, I've got a few topics to talk about. I had a scary thing happen to me in the new year, so I'll talk about that, which yeah, it makes you wonder if you're losing your mind sometimes, but I know it actually happened. The dogs probably even saw it, so we'll talk about it in a minute. First of all, I want to give you some updates on Secureteam, I guess, because people asked for it. So yeah, I've posted this one here. Greta is not amused. Greta to Tyler fans, how dare you? Exactly. How dare them say that I'm faking his fakes. That's how stupid some of them are. And if anyone's got hate, it's them. They should be hating a fraudster in ufology if they're taking UFO topics seriously. So yeah. Where's the close tab on that one? So yeah, did do a quick check to see if there's any new stuff out there. You can do that with Google search and search by the last 24 hours. And I got this Reddit post here come up. Parallel Secureteam arrest. That was 8 days ago now, but when I saw it, it was about 3 days old. So we'll just have a read of what this guy's saying. lot of these people don't even know about the old stuff, about his leaker stuff. So if I even see something like this on Reddit, or if I got access, because I've been banned from the UFO one for some reason, for no reason, won't answer me. I reckon he was paid off by Tyler, the admin. But yeah, or a Tyler fan. So we'll just play this clip here.
Tyler on Secure Team arrest. I tried posting this in the Tyler thread, but Reddit says it was removed because I am still new. Sadly, I found some pretty bad stuff. Click on the court homepage here, http mountvernon.municipalcourt.org. Go to case lookup, big blue button on the bottom right. Click I accept continue. Under case lookup options, click DRCR case lookup. In lookup case by name, enter exactly Glockner, Tyler D. Include the comma. Unfortunately, the license plate listed in the court cases below match the license plate in the Columbus Police Report link. The Columbus Police Report says he reported he was robbed while meeting for sex. He was meeting a woman for sex, not soliciting a prostitute as far as I can read in the report. I didn't believe it was him until I matched the license plates. I don't wish Tyler ill will, I do wish him well and hope he gets help. You gotta confront yourself when dealing with addiction. People will support you through, but you have to be honest. Things can get better if you try. I'd like to add that it's not cool to throw people at the lowest points in their life under the bus for the heck of it or to be right. I think some encouragement to reach out and get help is definitely in order. No judgment, we all fall. But we also have to be truthful. I'd also like to add, if you go to the links, he waived guilty plea on the 2 driving offenses, plead guilty to DUI. I still have no idea what no attorney name means. He had a court attorney or repped himself, and has plead not guilty to the domestic. He hasn't gone to court yet and everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So it's an alleged domestic. There's always a reason to live and become a better person.
Okay. Is it me? Does the voice reader sound like it's going a wee bit too fast today? It does that occasionally. So basically, to repeat what he said there, he's found, like I told everybody out there, go and search other states. You'll probably find him in other court cases, because obviously he drove his bike around a bit and probably created a lot of speeding tickets. Yeah. So apparently he got robbed while meeting a woman for sex, as police reports. Now, why would you say that to a policeman? Wouldn't you just say you were meeting a woman for dinner, not sex? Yeah. Either he was stoned or something and blabbed out there. I don't know, but crazy to say that. And of course, he's confirmed the DUI. He admitted guilty, even though on that video he said he was innocent. So why would you plead guilty? And what was the other one? He pleaded not guilty to the domestic. So the question is, was that lady he was meeting a mistress, some girl fan that's sucked up to him on the internet and said, let's meet up? Who knows? So we have to wait till the court case is revealed, I suppose. So update here, he's got that Tyler defending himself in court. Well, I suppose if you pleaded not guilty, why do you need an attorney? It saves a bit of money, doesn't it? What else we got? I think that's about it. Let's put a screen snapshot there. Same thing that I've already reported. So once I reported it, sort of went viral around the internet there. So yeah, don't spend too much time on there, but you probably can I'll post the link and you can go and read it yourself. So yeah, so how do you check up on people? Quite simple, by using Google. It's probably the better one because it scrapes so many sites. Just type his name, Klockner, and then you can just do a search on that. And you can see there's lots of pages about debunking them. It doesn't take much, does it? And then you go to tools here and search in the past 24 hours. So if you did that every day, you'll see what's being uploaded. Well, you could put the word Quartz after his name, or rest if you want to. But generally, just his name is good enough, and just go through it and manually just read the headings there. And that's how you find it. So what's that about prison? This person does not exist. Don't think so. I suppose you end up in 411 book, really. Blacklist, was it? I just read there. Blacklist font. Latest news on Tyler. That's old news, it's December. So yeah, nothing's popping up there, but that's how you can keep an eye on things. So what's that there? Oh, he's on holiday now, is he? Trip to the Georgia Guidestones. Oh no, it's not him, I don't think. Won't be surprised though. Put on a big show and then go on holiday. You have to click on this button down here always. View the entire thing, because the rest of it ends up being ads. So obviously this is going to be fairly big, I think. There you go. What's that one? So that's all the update news I've got on them, apart from people attacking me. It's pretty much same-o, same-o. So on with the other topics, I guess. Just bring up some snapshots. So if you've not seen a show called Paranormal 911, it's actually quite good. It's based on actual cop and ER people seeing UFOs and ghosts. So it's a bit of mixture. And this one here comes from Vandenberg Air Force Base 5 years later. So apparently a woman died outside the gates there. Well, she was in a car accident. She got hit and run, and she was holding a baby, and the baby died as well. So that's how it sort of starts off, that particular clip. And then the security guards get a parameter alert go off, and they go and check it out, and they see this woman that sort of looks solid and real, but looks decayed as well. And then eventually she walks through the fence, and then through another fence, and then she disappears. And next minute they see her further inside the perimeter, and they get more guards to help. So eventually they chase her and surround her. As you can see, they got M16 rifles aimed at this, what they believe is a real person that's trying to invade the Air Force Base. And she simply disappears in front of them. But from only one person's come forward though, and there's no security footage, unfortunately. You'd think they have cameras everywhere. But that would have been a really good one for proof positive that paranormal is real. And it was this guy here that's become a whistleblower. He looks familiar. I'm not sure where I've seen him before. But I won't say too much about the episode. I just want to say go and check it out. It's a fairly good show. One of the better ones I've seen on TV. Paranormal Emergency. Sometimes they have some real clips from the security cameras too. Paranormal 911. I think there's Paranormal Emergency as well, isn't it? It's supposed to be at the end. So it's been going from 2019. We've got a database link for it. I think it's Travel TV. Yeah, here we go. So giving them a plug for it. Maybe it's not Travel TV. stays there though. Sky.com, Season 1. TV base. Alright, let's see if we can find the database. Right. There we go. So why did we cover paranormal? Because there's a crossover between the UFO field. You can see it's very popular show there with the rating. Certainly go and dig it out after the live stream today. You'll enjoy it, I think. Does it list all the episodes? Let's see if anyone's got titles of UFOs in it. I think there was one. Reaper, Phantom Footsteps, Paranormal Prisoner, The Voice. Might be Paranormal Emergency is pretty good too. Let's just check that too. Might be Paranormal Emergency that's got a mixture of UFO stuff. Let's have a look. Might be getting confused between the two shows now. They're pretty similar. This it might be Paranormal Emergency that I was thinking of that's got UFOs and Bigfoots. That one's really good too. So one's Travel TV and the other one's A&E, is it? Fairly entertaining. But the thing is, I think it's this one's got the real footage put in from police cop cams and stuff. Let me just check. Seasons. It wasn't human. It wanted to what? Feed. The devil can do bad things. It was angry. Which one was about the UFO? Here we go. Helicopter pilots tried to outrun a UFO. So, yeah, it's the other one I was thinking of. So, another one worth checking out. Which I think I've mentioned before. So, that's the intro to the lead up to the stuff that happened to me, anyway. So, we're just going to close that down here. And next one will be talking about Hellyer, but I'll talk about my one thing first. So, so I had a beer and a bourbon, not too heavy drinking, New Year's, and I slept till about 10 in the morning. And what happened was, I don't know where I was in the dream. I couldn't remember anything about the dream, but I had these what I'd call like 10-pin bowling ball pins, ghosts, a bit wider and stuff. You know what I'm talking about there. 10 pins chasing me. It was like they're out to do harm to me, and I woke up and below me. Here's one of these creatures hovering above my bed, and it scared the crap out of me. And I jumped out the bed, and I had no other defense weapon apart from my heavy quilt feather, so I grabbed that and swung it at this thing. I had the fan and the ceiling going at the same time, and I was wondering, how can it be hovering there when not actually so close to the fan spinning around? And of course, I'm not sure what happened, but I was looking for the exit in the bedroom because I have the door closed, and it was like 10 a.m. in the morning. I never ever have any paranormal events like this happen after about 4 a.m. Normally it happens between 3 and 4 a.m. I've talked about my past experiences of things jumping on my bed and stuff, but this one was evil. So yeah, I'm just going to draw a picture of it and explain it a bit better. But yeah, 10-pin. I just want to document in case anyone else out there has had similar experience. So the thing is, I was posting comments about Hellyer, my thoughts on it and what they missed, about the kids being kidnapped and tortured and killed by this cult. And maybe I was dreaming about that, or somehow had an out-of-body experience, and somehow they saw me. I was like maybe watching, somehow got drawn to a cave or something like that, and was watching, and they saw me and they come after me. I don't know if it was something like that. I know it sounds crazy, but all the stuff that I've had happen, I now believe that there is a interdimensional thing that can occur, which needs to be documented somehow. 10-pin pin. Or I was also being attacked by Secureteam fans because I put up that video clip of him drinking and saying wishing Merry New Year and to be safe on the roads. And of course I got a lot of hate comments on that, saying how sick I am to make fun of his habits. But the idea of that was to make it a wee bit funny by slowing down his voice and getting away with fair use, because it was his video, right? So I had to make it into a sort of a parody to be able to use it, and really just to wish everybody well for the new year. And all I got was hate. But the thing is, I put a couple of clips in there where he talked about him drinking, and he said he only drinks once a year, generally New Year's, and sure enough the video was New Year's. But he also seemed to say that he occasionally drinks with his wife, so that time tells me that he drinks more than once a year, so he's not being honest at that point, as far as I'm concerned. So that's what the video was about. So yeah, this thing that was over the bed was like this, but expanded. So I'll try to draw it. Kind of crazy, I know. It's a bit like that case in Kentucky where he was talking about these sentient beings being blocks and slabs. And I'm just wondering if it's that they can take any type of shape. But it's kind of crazy. The whole thing was crazy. I wonder how I'm going to draw this day. So really it was like... let's see if I can draw it. Explain it properly. It was like the creature looked like it was like from the bottom of the sea, like one of those clear jellyfish that had like sparkly bits in it. That's about the best I can explain it, really. But it was like a solid white, three-dimensional, cloudy figure. It was like between a jellyfish and like a cloud, but a solid cloud. Talk about scaring the crap out of you, though. Is that thicker? Let's see if I can draw a line. Make it bigger. This is where the fun bit comes in. Trying to draw it. And that's the sort of thing no one would talk about, right? Because they get laughed at. But I think the more people that talk about these things and they say, oh yeah, I had that, the more we can sort of learn about it. So yeah, not quite right. I'm not really good on this thing. The bottom of it I can't remember exactly, but it did look like a 10-pin bowling ball, so I can best explain it. So yeah, you thought the Tyler thing I did was funny. Yeah, it was a wee bit funny, I thought. Him admitting that you notice in that video though, he said he doesn't drink, and then quickly remembered that he did that New Year's video and quickly changed his tack on that video. setup video he did. So that was my point of it. So it had sort of like circle bits. It's almost like it had a skin. It wasn't eyes, it was like these little circle bits throughout it. From what I mean, it was like a solid white, and it had these little greeny grey circle bits in it, like that. It had no features. It had no eyes, no nose. Totally crazy. It looked like something from under the sea, like I said, but shaped like a 10-pin bowling ball. So something like that. So what happened is this thing was right over top of me when I woke up, and I went screaming at it. Ah! And dived out of bed. Lucky enough I had shorts on, because generally I sleep in the nude because it's so hot in the summer here. Then I grabbed hold of my feather quilt. They call it doona in Australia. And it's really heavy. It's full of geese feathers, and it's really good in winter. It keeps you really warm. But I like to use it just to lean against. That sort of props me up in bed with my back. But anyway, I grabbed hold of this thing and swung it at this thing, and it kept coming towards me, and I thought, holy crap. And I thought, because it was 10 in the morning, I got these heavy draped curtains, and it was very dark in the room. And I looked for the door exit while my eyes adjusted, because I knew it was there, because as I moved towards the door, this thing actually started moving back slightly away from me and started watching where I was going. So if it was in my eyes, it should have been, it should have followed me wherever I looked, and it wasn't. I had to quickly look back just to check it wasn't coming after me, and it was still there hovering in the room. So I screamed. I had the door open, and I screamed at this thing. Almost like I don't know. I wish I had it on camera. It's hilarious, me swinging this feather doona at this thing in the room. Now you think about it, but yeah. And then my sister was about to leave after New Year's, go back to her house down south, and she's got 4 dogs with her, and Charlie's like the leader of the pack because he's the oldest dog, so they all sort of look up to him. So he woofed, heard me, and they all carry on woofing. So as soon as he woofs, they woof. They were coming charging down the hall and saw me with this big feather quilt, and they all slammed on the brakes. And they all gave me a strange look. And as I was turned around to look, this thing sort of expanded into a big cloud. Sort of expanded in each direction like that, sort of into like a cloud shape, though. It wasn't a solid object anymore. It got more and more transparent, and it simply dissolved. It just simply disappeared. I'm not sure if it was me that it was scared of, or me swearing at it so it go away. But yeah, so obviously I haven't been sleeping very well since this event. So could it be somehow I was thinking about the Hellyer stuff, and or was it because I posted something on Twitter about Hellyer and someone read it and they wanted to try and silence me? Or was it because Secureteam fans there were putting out negative energy towards me, and this energy formed in the room, come at me in my dream to start with, and then when I woke up? Because I never ever had an object in the dream appear as soon as you wake up. Normally you wake up and you think, wow, that was a crazy dream, right? So you don't expect to see it hovering above your bed. So yeah. So I ran into the kitchen with my feather quilt, and my heart rate was probably over 200 beats per minute, and Mum said, what's wrong? And I said, I just had an apparition in my bedroom that tried to attack me. And sister started talking about her kids having paranormal experiences and stuff. She said, oh, it runs in the family. So they didn't actually not believe me. And yeah, so I waited about 5 minutes and went back to the bedroom very carefully and pulled open the blinds and stuff. But ever since then, I've not been able to sleep properly because it's always on my mind. Because you don't expect something to attack you when you're sleeping like that, unless it's an intruder in the house. So yeah. So that's my crazy story. I thought I'd probably talk about that anyway, just to document it. But yeah, I see we lost a few people watching. They don't believe me, but that's up to you. You know, I had the camera from last time. I decided to get a phone camera and stick it next to the bed. And the last thing on my mind was grabbing that camera and actually documenting what I was seeing. I know I got fogginess in the eyes. It wasn't that because this thing was solid and it was moving around. And if it was in my eyes, it should have been every direction I looked, and it wasn't. I ran towards the door, it wasn't there, and then I turned around, it's right behind me. Yeah, but it didn't sort of, it wasn't sure. I don't think it was expecting my reaction like I did. Like a screaming crazy Kiwi dude. I keep telling people, don't mess with me because I will attack first and then run to defensive position. I won't sort of run and then get shot in the back or whatever. I always will charge. And I think if more people did that with real gunmen and shopping malls, they would be overcome quite quickly. I suppose people got to put their lives before other people's, right? But yeah, if anyone else out there has seen something like this. I know there was a guy on our Discord channel called Jintso. I'm not sure if you're members of our Discord channel, but he did come on and talk about his experience of seeing shadow people while he was in a bank during the day. So, but he talked about seeing these blobby things around the house that he lived in. But his ones were dark, I think, not light-coloured white things like this. Yeah. Enough on that. So yeah. So it was more like this, but if you can stretch that out each direction and put the spotty bits in, it was kind of like shaped like a fat human. That's all best I can say. So if there's any Tyler fans out there doing black magic on me that created this, own up to it. Because it would be interesting to know if it was a real thing. I think it proves that it must have been interdimensional, because you don't have something appear like that and then suddenly disappear in front of you. I know there's a lot of skeptics out there of paranormal, but until it happens to you, it sort of changes your whole worldview, of course. So that brings us on to Hellyer now, I suppose. So we ain't got too many people on the chat today. Jesus, I had a similar experience. I always shout out Saint Michael. Now I sort of screamed at it like a banshee. Ah, get away! And stuff like that. Normally I say F off or something, swear at it. That seems to work. Do battle for evil. Yeah, it sort of was. It seemed. I could see why people die in their sleep. So, say you had a paranormal experience and that scares the crap out of you. Your heart suddenly is on full panic mode. And if you've got an already stressed heart, then you can have a heart attack, right? And die in sleep, so they say. So it makes you wonder if a lot of the deaths are not all natural, but they actually might be induced by some sort of interdimensional beings, as best I can explain it. It's certainly not mental, that's for sure. I'm pretty sure maybe one of the dogs saw it. They got quite close to the entrance. But yeah, I'm pretty sure ghosts don't like dogs. They're pretty scared of them. In fact, if you ever see paranormal shows, often the pets get killed off one by one. Even if it's like a Bigfoot story, the Bigfoots will kill off the dogs and probably eat them, probably. But yeah. So I finally watched Hellyer, which I talked about a couple of live streams back. Never seen a ghost or anything like that. I'd like to, but I think they know I would. Crap. Yeah, well, I didn't actually experience ghosts until probably just before I started my UFO channel. And since then, it's certainly just amped up. It might be the location, because I never had it in Australia. You ever watch the Dead Files? I always thought it was BS myself, psychics, mediums, and all that. But then I thought, they seem to believe it. This detective seems to be believing them, and he does research, and he's amazing how she sees things that he finds in reports. But she often talks about certain locations on Earth that should never be houses built on, that they're like vortex doorways to the interdimensionals. I just wonder if this location here, probably goes through the middle of my bedroom here, might be one of these portals where they can come in and out, because I do get funny technology problems here, and of course batteries don't seem to last long either. This is another thing I've noticed. If I charge them up, they won't last very long. Scared when that happens. Yeah, I always sensed there was something watching me as a kid, as I was growing up. But never anything really bad happened. Not until the guy that we used to rent the top of the house out to committed suicide, and then strange stuff used to happen. We used to rent it out, and as I've talked about it in past live, it's called Spooky Ill. If you ain't had a listen, go and have a listen to it. That the Chinese people that we rented the top of the house to said the TV would switch on by itself, which is really strange. And one day I was underneath the room above, and I could swear that someone was walking around and opening cupboard doors, like underneath. They had a waterbed with a drawer underneath it. You could hear it opening up and then closing, and they went home. So I know then that there's something that can't be explained going on. And of course our house back then was also built on new land. It used to be like old farm paddocks. There shouldn't have been anything there, and of course there wasn't anything that crazily happened there, not until that guy committed suicide. So I think he liked visiting, so to speak. Maybe he was trapped because he committed suicide with gassing himself in a car. But yeah, better get on to this next topic anyway. How are we going for time? 38. I think ghosts are real, just in a frequency we can't see them. Or they might be seen in the message, because of what I do here. Bringing truth and exposing the lies. Maybe it wasn't actually like ghosts, but maybe it was like a form of alien. Maybe an alien coming through. But like I said, I've had out of body when I was a kid. I've got it in an episode as well, which I didn't understand. That was before we had internet and TV shows on the paranormal. I didn't know what was happening, and yeah, it's something that sort of changed me for life when I had this out of body experience where I was looking down on the body. So I know out of body does actually work. Me, I don't understand it, whether it's like moving your consciousness from your brain to another state where you can actually move around. Because the funny thing is, it felt like I had a body, because all I could see is me in the bed, but I rotated around and I could actually feel the top of the ceiling. And then I spun around and then saw me in bed and had a shock, and then before I know it was like sapped in the body. That's exactly what happened this time as well. It was like I was somewhere else, witnessing something happening, like some sort of cult sacrifice happening, and maybe they noticed me and started chasing me in the dream, or in the outer body thing, what do you want to call it. That's my gut feeling, that it was about something like that. So yeah, maybe I shouldn't get so involved in these things, because it can lead to bad stuff. Maybe the Hellyer people missed some key stuff there. So yeah, so what I said here, my thoughts on it. So I was talking, they're talking in the series about Ash. I won't try and spoil it too much if you haven't seen it. And they couldn't work out what Ash was, and they thought it was Ashland, where this particular book writer existed. But to me, straight away, I saw that as American society, because they were talking about these cults and societies, and I thought straight away, American society of hemoglology. I'll say it further down here. How'd you say that word? And they're talking about UFO nauts, because in the early days they didn't used to call them greys and aliens. They used to call them UFO nauts, as I got here. So what I said here is they were talking about Sommerset and Hellyer, but if you look here, it forms a triangle between cities called Anchorage, Kentucky, to Sommerset to Hellyer, and it formed a triangle. Seems almost symmetrical there, but that also referred to Ash, so I sent that to them. I don't think you can see they haven't replied to it, they haven't liked it, but I sent it to this Greg guy, Newick. Obviously they're not interested in what I have to say there. So it makes me wonder if they're actually legit people or not, because I replied to everybody, say, oh, that's a good idea, I'll pin it on the wall. Maybe we need to go and check out that location, right? That's what I would do naturally. So here I talked about it, I had to break up. This is what's problem with Twitter. It only allows you little small comments, which is really annoying. And you can't even edit them if you got a typo. So I'll just see if we read it out, see what happens.
Okay, I finally watched all 10 eps of S02 of Hellier at the Vescots or at Newcack. I have to say I was a bit disappointed. They seem to have lost the plot from Ep 3 to Ep 5 cos instead of focusing on the UFO alien side, UFOnauts, Cypher, Goblins, Green Man.
Yeah, so yeah, it's going to take a while to read all this out. Why was it only a little bit there? It went off track. Okay. Alright. There's another bit up here, is it? Midway. Oh yeah, so it certainly got dark because it went into the cult and sacrifices and people going missing. So this is basically what I posted about before.
It went a track to the more occult, paranormal and religious way. When Ash came up they thought of the person to city locations and Pan and other ancient spirits and pagan way. Although might have had that component in it as well.
So yeah, let's bring up this character called Pan. I eventually find it coded into the emails they got. So it went more the religious, black occult, paranormal direction rather than the UFO direction, which was what the original episode of Hellyer was all about. All these alien goblins looking through the window and dashing off to live in the tunnels. And looks like I've lost my place here again. 1, 2, 3.
God, Twitter's small child limit, it went very dark. Down the road of screaming forest killings, kids, and secret societies lurking underground that I thought it was going to deal with a connection of missing people, more so certain ancient kids who had some genetic traits.
Okay, I got a typo there. Societies, secret societies, which is quite big in America. The Masons and all that. And so instead of looking into missing people to see if there's any missing kids in those locations, they simply seem to ignore it. I think they were too scared, to tell the truth.
And I thought the ash was a clue for alien blood type. In that ash means American society, key word there, of hematology, the study of blood, and Pan is a race of aliens living on Earth C.
So as you know, we got rhesus blood, which they reckon is alien DNA hybrid crossbreed in there. Maybe there was a connection there with the blood type of the people going missing, so I thought they may look in that direction and see if it led anywhere. It made a lot more sense, but yeah, here's a link I gave them to Pam. If you do a search on Pam, come up with the fandom here, with the Pam being Roswell conspiracies. Pam are one of many alien races that have made Earth their home in Roswell conspiracies. So I suppose that's the TV show, is it? Even though it may not be a real life thing, it may be just a clue in finding this on the internet. A race of green, so there's the green men, or white furred, how do you say that word? Anthropomorphic goats. So they were talking about goats as well in the series, goat demons. Unlike their legendary counterparts, female Pans exist, and the race is not as hedonistic as in the Greek myths, engaging in marriage and raising families. So the whole idea of Hellers was these goblins that were green-skinned that lived in the cave. So I don't know if that was a clue there, but I put it up there in my review of it. Occult and ghost hunters. Next bit.
Occult and ghost hunters, they focused at that way the balloon connection with Blue birthday might been a clue. That it happened when come of age, and might have been fingerprints on it. Well, balloons, multiple, that was going to lead them to a missing.
So they went to this, they've got these numbers from a decoding of the email, which they thought were GPS coordinates. So they go there to this creepy remote town in the forest area, and he walks to this forest area and finds this balloon straight at the GPS coordinates, which is kind of strange. And instead of wearing gloves and proper bag to put it in for forensic testing, he simply just picks it up with his hand and throws it in his backpack, So what they need is a proper detective investigator on their team, like the Dead Files has, that knows how to handle evidence properly. In the last bit here I said, but not only that, they find more balloons, so I won't ruin it too much for you. But I thought the clue might have been on that balloon, where they get a fingerprint which matches to a missing child, which then they find out the blood type, and then they find out that the village people are acting really strange, which he does find out after he finds the balloon, but I won't talk about it, not to ruin it too much. So yeah, go and check out the series. Episodes 3 to 5 of season 2 is where this sort of stuff happens. And they suddenly go a different direction after that, which is kind of strange. And then they have a woman from prison tell them that stories of kids being sacrificed, and they've got a lot of tunnel systems there, and they could hear people talking deep into the tunnel systems, where there's like an underground entrance elsewhere where they've got a little secret room for their cults. And it's kind of spooky and creepy. So this is what I posted just before I had that paranormal thing happen the next day, which would have been in the afternoon in America and my morning in New Zealand here.
End gallons with abductions or goblin connection as a little girl, and 3-foot alien connection was there. They mishandle the balloon, no gloves, no bag, no technical input. Just my 2 cents, Paul.
So they may even found some alien handprints on it or something, like 3-foot toes. We don't know now, because it went nowhere. But you're going to have to watch it, see where they go. They went in a different direction. They started going to occult stuff and using the god helmet and all that sort of stuff, which I'm going to talk about as well. So yeah, so that's probably my last bit for Hellyer now. Go and check out the series, and I suppose we'll talk about Parallel 37. So what is Parallel 37? So here we got a little map. Have you had that feeling when you're falling to sleep like you're floating 6 foot off your bed? No, I've not had that feeling. I've had a feeling of something, I tend to put a pillow over my head. I had a feeling of something pressing down on the pillow trying to suffocate me. And then I flick it upwards and tell them to F off. And what I do is I imagine a force field around me, like a bubble. And generally I don't have any more problems after that. I imagine like an energy field that expands outside the house perimeter and goes underground, and it protects us like a shield. They say that's one way to counteract spirits entering your space. It might be that some of us are more open to see these apparitions in like our third eye, as some people say, where our brain is able to be gets influenced by the so-called dark energy that's all around us that we can't see, and this thing that Tesla called the ether. Now he had some stuff with spirits and stuff, didn't he? He was into that sort of stuff too. I think he must have experienced stuff. But what I've got in my bedroom is this negative ion generator. I've talked about it before, that I used this negative ion generator when I was 20 something, and I used to get these vivid dreams that used to come true, and it made no sense to me, and it sort of spun my world a different direction after that point, because I was very I was like a computer scientist with a straight mind that everything can be explained, but this couldn't be explained. And I still got this negative ion generator in the bedroom, and it may be somehow charging it so they can come through, like charges the air. So maybe I should pull the plug on that. But it does help me, it helps me out. It gets rid of the pollen in the air and stuff like that. And it helps you if you got like a scratch or skin burn or something like that, the skin heals very quickly. I think you've probably heard of that Sterling Motor guy, is it? That said he built a UFO using permanent magnets, that they managed to charge these cylinders, not charge them, well, magnetize these cylinders so they would spin by themselves, which sounded a wee bit suspect. But he talked about when he had the generator running, it created a lot of negative ions, which actually made the health of the house healthier. And you would be less sick. But yeah, maybe it introduces paranormal stuff as well. So I don't want to ramble too much, but here we got 37 Parallel. And you can see it cuts right through Kentucky and probably California and Area 51, right through to the top of Africa there. I'm not sure what's up there though. India, some China, some Russia. I think, isn't that where one of the UFO sightings was, that we covered with Robert? I'm not sure if he's on. What was it called now? Where George Knapp got a piece of material from. Looks like it's in the same location there. Seems to be like a common one. So what is, it's like a band of different has a electromagnetic field different at that location there on the planet. So you can bring that on Google Earth and actually show you the grid line on that. And I already got it up here. So you can see the grid lines here of these special lines. And you can see one cuts through Australia there, it doesn't quite make it through New Zealand. But what's those ones called? So you got Crater, and I think the next one is what they call 37, is it? It could be 23 line, and then 37 should be there. How can I rotate that? Three Tropic of Cancer. Where's the 37 one gone? Africa. Okay, let's all skew with here. Let's see if we can line it up. Yep. Upside down. Okay, close. Is there a reset thing? Right. Yeah, so what's that one there? 23. Where's the 37 one gone? 37 used to have a line going through it. It doesn't have it on the map now for some reason. But that doesn't make any sense. Something's got turned off. It used to put the other ones in between. What's that one say? Capricorn. I had it all set up. I'm not sure why it's not showing it. I think you have to go Tools. Let's see it. View. Atmospheric grid. View grid. Maybe it doesn't put the line in, but there's 37 here. Oh right, that's like a fine adjustment. We've got these little blocks coming up here. So what we can do is we can zoom right down to break as close to 37 parallel. So it's a bit confusing. I just wish we could get rid of to say 37. But you want to get to 37.0, so that's 10 minutes, 7, 6, 5. And on the series of Hellyer, they said that the 37 parallel actually went straight through the middle of Sommerset, and it doesn't. It goes right below it. So have I got Sommerset here? So let's see if we can go to it on the map. What's interesting though, on that Hellyer again, going back to Hellyer, they said at Sommerset they used to get a lot of apparitions of these white ghost pillars, which is very similar to what I experienced. So I just wonder if there's a connection there. So there's Sommerset, and you can see 37's way down here. So it's actually below the city. It doesn't cut right through it. That's about here somewhere. It's at the bottom of the city, and Sommerset's way up here. But it's close, you know. It's still passing through the region, give or take 10 minutes. So that's the best I can do with this program anyway. And if we pan out, if we follow 37 here, so there's Sommerset with the circle. You can see it's actually just below where Sommerset is, but it passes all through Kentucky here, and we'll get onto the UFO hotspots seem to be around this location. And if we keep on going, 37, it looks like it's going through the desert here, United States. What's that place? Oklahoma. Still going, although it's rotating around for some reason. And where's it cut through here? California, bottom of California. That's where the Tic Tac was, wasn't it? It's down that location there, 37 parallel, which I find fascinating. And you've got the Grand Canyon close to it here, look. Grand Canyon. Where's Area 51 on this map? New Mexico, Arizona. Could explain a lot that happens in Arizona there. Oh, hello Shelley. You're a bit late. Where's Area 51? Sommerset's there. Let's just put it in. Area 51. Now this is what you do for research, right? So it is tedious, but then you start to see connections that you can relate to stories. So why does it not put Area 51 there for us? It's not going to do it for us. Nevada, maybe. Las Vegas. It's going to go. Search. There we go. So how close to 37 is it? So there's Las Vegas. 36. So that's not cutting right close to it. Let's go upwards. And there's 32, 37 almost, cutting right through the desert here. What's that there? Is that Area 51? It looks like the location. S4 is it? Is that location? Salt Lake of some kind there. It's funny how it runs directly underneath 37 there. Look, straight smack on. That whole thing there is a desert. 37. It's all in the range here. Give or take, 50, 100 miles maybe. S4. I know we had it on the map here, bookmarked somewhere. Let's see. I thought we had. Black Mountain antenna. No. What else can we try? S4. S4. What did you get any reference on that? Couldn't find it. Should Area 51. Area 41. Alien Center. Oh. There's Summit Valley there. Where's that going? Oop, there we go. And not sure what that is. Let's see, but it's near 37, whatever it is. I really should bookmark that. That looks like Area 51 up there. 37 smack on the dot here, so it's got to be here, isn't it? What's that there? A lot of bomb craters, by the looks of it, where they did a lot of nuclear testing. Smack on 37. Look at that. What's that there? 37, smack on the dot here. I wonder if Skinwalker Ranch passes through it. We'll have a look in a minute. Sort of got sidetracked, but it's quite interesting. Hello John, how's it going? Yeah, you got 37 parallel running right through your property there. No wonder you get an Indian ghost in your house. Me, I get these 10-pin bowling ghosts attacking me. And it makes it impossible to sleep when it's always on your mind that you gotta have to defend yourself. Yeah, just trying to find Area 51. So I wonder if we've got some GPS coordinates that we can just plug in straight away. I thought it would have been sort of like a common one, but it looks like there's some censorship going on with Google. Area 51 location. So we've got some GPS coordinates. Groom Lake. I suppose I could have typed in Groom Lake. Hey, that would have done it. So let's see. Come on, get rid of that crap. Why is it not deleting it? Damn stupid thing. Groom Lake. Nevada. There we go. Go. Going down. There we go. And where does it lie? 37. There you go. Pretty close. And there's Area 51. Smack on 37. How about that, guys? I bet you didn't know that, because I certainly didn't. So it's from that lake there, which is S4, isn't it? That's S4 there. Smack on almost close to 37.0. What's that one? Pasca. What's it called now? Pasca something Lake. Papoose Lake, wasn't it? Something like that. There you go. That's on 37. The whole area from there to there. 37. Where UFO hotspots happen. So let's try Skinwalker Ranch. Now this is getting quite exciting now. So did I have a bookmark for that by any chance? Probably not. Damn it. Now it's deleting. Skinwalker Ranch. Skinwalker Ranch. Is it even listed? I know there's several Skinwalker Ranches, so we got to pick the right one. Which one is it though? That one there? Utah? That sounds like the right one, doesn't it? There we go. Whoa! No, that one's way off. Is that where Skinwalker Ranch is? Or is it the wrong location? Looks like it could be in the right spots. So that's not even close to 37. This one's close to 40. So that's a bit of a shame. That would have been good if that one lined up with N37, eh? But we got a lot of hotspots here. We got Hellyer, and we got what was the other bit in the middle? Arizona, and we've got a bottom of SoCal, or whatever it's called, South California. So anyway, go and have a play yourself. You just have to go view, tick on grid. So let's just find out what this 37 parallel is. Oh, I should have bookmarked Area 51. Too bad. We can find it again. So why is it so special, is the question.
The 37th parallel north is a circle of latitude that is 37 degrees north of the Earth's equatorial plane. It crosses Europe, the Mediterranean Sea, Africa, Asia, the Pacific Ocean, North America, and the Atlantic Ocean. At this latitude the Sun is visible for 14 hours, 42 minutes during the summer solstice and 9 hours, 37 minutes during the winter solstice. 1. This is roughly the northern limit of the visibility of Canopus, the second brightest star of the night sky.
So that could be a clue there. So, does Egypt pass? We should have checked for Egypt, shouldn't we, where the Great Pyramids were, how close to it was. But anyway, you can do more research if you want to. So it's listed out 3700 and 6, 7, 8 minutes degrees. So to explain that, you'd have to go into mathematics and all that, and how the ships navigated the globe and all that. So this won't work on a flat Earth, right? So it's got to be a globe. So it's going through all those locations there. And it's highlighted these ones here for some reason, which we looked at, Utah, but that's higher up, you see. Are they saying the borders actually match 37 parallel? Is that what they're saying there? This kind of strange, isn't it? It looks like it, doesn't it? Arizona, New Mexico. So that cuts in the corner of the Hopi Indians were in the corner there, weren't they? What's it called? Four corners of the 4 states where they intersect. So there's another thing, something new that's come to light there. What do you think of that, John? Certainly a strange place in America there, having all these things that pop up. So yeah, what have we got? We got some people talking about UFOs in the area. Close. 30th parallel makes strong case for UFOs. So this, just have a read of this one. This is the guy called Chuck. He's on that show called Alien Highway. Now what's happened here? Stupid ads keep popping up. I was just trying to highlight and it keeps trying to take control. Yeah, here we go. He's obviously doing an interview there. Let's see how it reads. See what it says. Because I actually haven't read this. I found a few things that took that UFOs to see what they were going to say about it.
San Francisco - do you believe? Chuck Zerkowski, a chatty ufologist who goes by the nicknames UFO Nut and the Mulder of El Paso, Colo, certainly does. His decades-long journey along the southern ridge of Colorado, New Mexico, Utah and Arizona, the 37th North Parallel, in latitude, is the spin-off 37 Parallel, The Secret Truth Behind America's UFO Highway. Atria Books, 247 pages, $26, a riveting new read from best-selling author Ben Mesrick. The Paranormal Highway, if you will, rests along the 37th parallel, a fixed geographical location based on a point's distance from the equator, the horizontal center of the mostly spherical Earth, Mesrick writes. Along this desolate, largely uninhabited stretch of land, mysterious things happen with eerie frequency. Strange flying objects. Thousands of mutilated cows and horses, drained of blood and missing surgically removed reproductive organs, tongues and ears. Unexplained lights darting in the sky. Alleged underground military installations. MUFON at the location of so many UFO sightings and cattle mutilations has also, apparently, been the latitude of choice for government bases and American Indian holy sites. It's a paranoid's worst nightmare, mixing real science and research with faceless men in black suits and top-secret government operations. I'm from a family of scientists and a skeptic, says Mesrick, author of The Accidental Billionaires, the best-selling book upon which the movie The Social Network is based. I assumed most of the UFO community was crazy. But the scientific approach of Zurkowski, a part-time microchip engineer and former sheriff's deputy, and the top-secret space project of a reclusive billionaire persuaded Mesrick. I believe that something happened at Roswell. Roswell is the holy grail of UFO lore. In July 1947, an unidentified flying object skidded across the New Mexico desert, leaving a trail of debris. The Roswell Army Airfield initially issued a press release, suggesting a flying disc crashed on a ranch. Within hours, NAF officials claimed it was a wayward weather balloon. Like a true obsessive, Zurkowski has tirelessly searched the back roads and mountains of the Southwest in search of the truth, just like the fictional Fox Mulder character on the groundbreaking TV series X-Files, for which Zurkowski draws comparisons. Indeed, if Hollywood has its way, Robert Downey Jr. will play Zurkowski in a planned movie project. Many of the scenes just might take place in Roswell, where Zurkowski unearthed a mysterious triangular piece of debris from the 1947 crash scene where he may have directly communicated with an otherworldly probe flashing bright lights. Zurkowski sent a sliver of the metallic fragment to the labs of Bigelow Aerospace, a startup run by Robert Bigelow, the billionaire owner of hotel chain Budget Suites of America and space entrepreneur. He's still awaiting results from Bigelow, who intends to build inflatable space pods, and Spacine has an agreement with the Federal Aviation Administration to report UFO sightings, according to the 37th Parallel. Robert Bigelow is building hotels in space. No, really, the Bigelow story blew me away, says Mesrick. Here you have the FAR reporting UFOs to a private company in Nevada run by a reclusive billionaire. Lest you doubt the findings of the scientifically named Zurkowski, best-selling author Mesrick and Bigelow, consider this during the run-up to next week's presidential election. During a taping with talk show host Jimmy Kimmel in March, Hillary Clinton said she would release UFO files, or, in new government parlance, unexplained aerial phenomena.
So it's a fairly old document then, is it? What's the timestamp on that? 2016? Yeah, that makes sense. So, that guy did his TV show, Chuck. The Alien Highway. It was okay. At least they were trying to investigate things, but I don't think they stayed in a spot too long. They needed to stay in one place for a few weeks, I reckon. And they didn't use the apps, you know. They didn't didn't show them using the plane finder apps and the heavens above apps and to rule out the lights in the sky there. They didn't have their own drone go and chase it. You know, if you've got the money, right, you'd have your own drone team that could fly up towards this light and see if they can get a closer view of it. But anyway, that one wasn't particularly very interesting, that report there, but still. I think I've got one here that actually shows a map of where all the UFO sightings is. So here's these guys going on Alien Highway. And so they see a light in the sky. So we'll have a read of that in a minute. 37 latitudes, so we've got even open minds here talking about it. Paranormal Freeway, they call it here. And here we got the Chuck again. Seems to be the big one on it. Debbie, whoever that is. So here we got some maps finally. Showing hotspots. No, I'm not sure what the colour codes are for. But yeah, straight across from Kentucky, Area 51. What's over here on the map? What locations there? I'm not sure. And then you got Arizona just below that here, Four Corners, New Mexico there. So it's a pretty good map. And here's another one here showing it a wee bit better. So we've got Kentucky. What's the MO? Missouri, is it? K something? Kansas, is it? What's KS? S02, AZ, Arizona, Nevada. So we went through all those ones. So that one's pretty good. So major active duty Air Force bases. You can see how many Air Force bases they've got scattered around then. Quite a lot, huh? And of course 37 parallel runs through this way. And we've got another map here, which is quite interesting as well. Yellow decommissioned. So that's Air Force bases. What's the red? Red is a terrible colour. Nuclear power plants. So they're showing also where nuclear stuff, material is decommissioned. I reckon they needed to separate that out a wee bit better. With maybe a blue colour or something. So yeah, maybe you should read out that one next. That one looks more detailed. And also this one here I found, America's UFO Highway. And it's got actually not just the 37 parallel, but they also got it at the other location. Ah, right, Skinwalker Ranch passes through 40. So it doesn't do 37, but this is the next level up, which they call the 40th parallel, and underneath it is the 34th parallel. And there's the clusters are happening. And guess what? Skinwalker Ranch cuts through that location on the map. That's interesting too. You thought you might not have heard yet, the 37 parallel passing through Area 51 is rumored to be a reputable traffic jam of flying saucers, at least according to some UFO researchers, and Hollywood optioned book The 37th Parallel, The Secret Truth Behind America's UFO Highway. But recent data shows that the strip doesn't, and where does it go from there? See more activity. What's it saying? Then 40th parallel. Then other lines of latitude bisected by the 34th parallel reported 615 UFO sightings in 2018, while cities along the 40th saw 576. But it depends who reports it. You know, a lot of reports don't get submitted to MUFON. I guess this is from MUFON database, I would assume. But even so, that's still quite interesting though. Would be good to overlay the Air Force bases on those lines there a bit better, and also the nuclear power plants. But anyway, that's a start. This page, I can give you a link to it, but it changes every day. But I've got it searching for 36 parallel. If you want to zoom into that chart, you can. Like I said, this is like not a refined live today. This is more like research live, as I call it. Research live, debunk, and some news. And we're about to reference back to this at some point and say, yeah, we did remember those connections on that particular article. Alright. So the more and more we do this, the more and more we start to see patterns and connections, and that's the main thing with UFO field when you're doing research. So close that one. And also, as Shirley mentioned, she talked about caves and crystals. As you can see, I've actually got a tab to talk about that too. So I'm always ahead of you there, Shirley. But we'll get back to that one in a minute. What else we got here? What's happened? Something's gone crazy here. Some sort of ads popped up instead of what I wanted to look at. 12th base numerology. I don't think that's the page I had. Well, let's reload it. I think it's changed the page I had. Right, spirit boxes. So I'm going to talk about that too. If we get time. There's always lots to talk about. Frank's box. The Ghost in the Machine. Electronic voice phenomenon. EVP. Frank box again. And Australian artwork. I've got to get to that too. So much to talk about. Damn it. So I'll post the wiki here on that 37 Parallel. Might come in handy for you if you want to do research yourself. If you find out anything interesting, just post it on the live when we finish. Or suggest something we can do for another live. Is my audio sounding alright today? Everyone was saying it was a wee bit low last time. I'm not sure what's going on with the system sometimes. Okay, so what do we got here? Stupid pop-ups for starters. See what I can read out on this one. Stupid pop-up. I've got a map there too, so we'll have a look at that in a minute as it's reading out. So this comes from Australian news.
Why the 37th parallel is the weirdest part of America. In the past 30 years there have been 200 paranormal activities along the 37th parallel in America. What is going on in this strange place? melkercalisionews.com.or September 5, 20,165, 51 p.m. Chuck Zerkowski is an alien investigator. Source, New York Post. The rancher called Chuck Zerkowski in a panic. I think it's happening again, the farmer named Miller said nervously, in 2011. I'll be right there, Zerkowski reassured him. The 58-year-old alien investigator threw on his tactical vest, jumped into his black Ford truck, and sped over to Miller's farm 2 hours away in Colorado. The spooked cattleman greeted Zerkowski with a solemn stare and pointed toward the carcass of a cow plopped in the dirt. The mutilated red Angus was missing its ears, tongue and genitalia, similar to the previous 2 incidents at Miller's ranch, Zerkowski told the New York Post. Each body part was dissected in a clinical way, leaving cauterized surgical wounds, but the earth surrounding it was left completely undisturbed. Zerkowski had no doubt that this was the work of aliens, and they were once again operating on the 37th parallel. I started to realize the cattle mutilations, UFO sightings and major events like Area 51 all lined up, Zerkowski said, referring to the 37th degree of latitude, which forms the borders between Utah and Arizona, Colorado and New Mexico, and Kansas and Oklahoma. He's investigated more than 1,000 paranormal incidents over 30 years, and 200 of them landed on the 37th parallel. It's America's paranormal highway, the self-described UFO nut proclaimed. Zerkowski believes the aliens have a predilection for places with a proximity to underground water and a high level of hydrogen, which they use for energy. He became fascinated with extraterrestrials as a kid, but began to get serious about his research in the late 1980s. On weekends, he'd pile his 3 kids and his wife, Tammy, 56, into a beat-up RV to go UFO hunting. Like the Ghostbusters, Zerkowski is always fully strapped for action. Zerkowski photographed a streak in the skies over Area 51 in 1995. Source, New York Post. I never go anywhere without a tactical vest, a gun, a full-spectrum camera, a handheld metal detector, binoculars, a rangefinder and glass tubes for samples, he boasted. When he moved his family out to Colorado Springs in 1998, he latched onto the phenomenon of mutilated animals. They all look as if someone has cut them up with a surgical knife, he said. Zerkowski, who works as a microchip designer, sharpened his investigative skills while working for the local sheriff's department, earning him the nickname Mulder of El Paso after the X-Files character Fox Mulder. But 8 years later, he was booted from the squad for his paranormal leanings. They thought it hurt the integrity of the department and were embarrassed, he said. Not so for writer Ben Mesrick, whose book The Accidental Billionaires was adapted into the movie The Social Network. When Mesrick caught wind of Zerkowski's quest to find the truth, He flew to Colorado to meet the subject of his forthcoming book, The 37th Parallel, The Secret Truth Behind America's UFO Highway, which comes out on Friday. The movie rights have already been snapped up by New Line Cinema. He swept me up from the airport, gave me a bulletproof vest and a gun and said, "Let's go investigate UFOs." Mesrick said of his first encounter with Zerkowski. "I was blown away by his obsession. Lots of people ridicule UFO researchers, but Mesrick was infatuated with Zerkowski's commitment to finding aliens." For the following 6 months, Mesrick dived headfirst into Zerkowski's theory. "Over the course of my research, I've determined it's incredibly likely that we have been visited by aliens at least once," he said.
So, interesting there. So yeah, he seems very credible, but I just heard that he's going to contact in the desert, and anyone that goes to the contact in the desert straight away is an instant foul in my book. But yeah, I don't know. It sort of downgrades them when they do that. They should avoid all those fraud crystal sellers and all that, and actually look, see if there's any truth in all that sort of business, rather than trying to profit from it, which is basically what all these bloody things do, like these conferences, is to sell books and crystals and movies with their signatures in. So here we go, skeptical, read the evidence for yourself. So let's go through that list there. I'll post a link to it too. It's on the Australian site of all things. So it must be from some other news source, of course. What was it? Washington Post or something, was it? New York Post. Does it fit? Sometimes it don't fit. Let's read it out. Let's see what they're saying about this skeptical list. Year 51. I think I've sort of skimmed it myself, figured it out myself, but we'll see what they come up with. See what I found matches up with theirs. That was just going through the globe on Google Earth there.
Skeptical. Read the evidence for yourself. 1. Area 51-Lincoln County, Nevada. This Air Force facility about 140 kilometers north of Las Vegas has been shrouded in mystery since the late 1940s. UFO investigators believe alien remains and spacecraft are kept at Area 51, including erect spacecraft and alien remains supposedly found in 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico. Zerkowski got his first look at Area 51 in 1995, when he hired a guide to take him to Tikaboo Peak. From there, he could view Area 51 from 30 kilometers away. During his visit, he snapped a photo of what he believes was a flying saucer. 2. Dulce Underground Base, Dulce, New Mexico. Many believe an underground military and alien base exists underneath this small New Mexican town. Since 1979, a number of people have come forward claiming to have worked at the facility. One released a bundle of documents, known as the Dulce Papers, purporting to contain details about the base. Numerous area residents have reported seeing alien spacecraft. Zerkowski has visited Dulce several times over the past decade, and has spoken with members of the Jacarilla Apache Nation about their experiences with aliens. It doesn't matter who you speak with, everyone agrees there is an underground base nearby, Zerkowski said. 3. Taos Hum, Taos, New Mexico. A mysterious humming noise is said to have plagued the town of Taos since the early 1990s. Zerkowski is among those who believe the hum comes from construction of an underground human and alien base. Residents find the noise annoying. Some claim it causes dizziness, insomnia, sleep disturbance and headaches. Researchers determined that about 2% of the population in Taos were hearers. However, there has been no evidence to prove that the humming really exists. Zerkowski visited the town in 1996, but he and his family were unable to hear the hum. Even though we didn't hear it, I was able to speak with a few residents who did, he said. 4. Miller Mutilation, Trinidad, Colorado. In August 2011, Zerkowski was called to the Miller Ranch to investigate a grisly mutilation of a 5-year-old cow. The cow was missing its udder and teats, tongue, and left ear and had oval-shaped holes between its forelegs and rear. The dirt surrounding the animal seemed undisturbed, and there were no footprints to be found, according to Zerkowski. What was particularly odd about this one was when I came back a few weeks later, I noticed the bottom ribs were cracked. The only explanation is that it was dropped on the ground from a high distance, he said. The Las Animas County Sheriff Deputy investigated the death, but was unable to determine a cause. 5. Sanchez mutilation, San Luis, Colorado. Zerkowski investigated a spine-tingling mutilation on Manuel Sanchez's ranch in November 2009. A 5-month-old calf had its guts completely hollowed out, its legs broken and bent backwards, and its body twisted like a corkscrew. It was the 4th calf on Sanchez's ranch viciously mutilated over the previous 3 weeks. The rancher was so distraught that he took the rest of his calves to auction, Zerkowski said. He figured selling them was better than losing more to mutilation. 6. UFO sighting, Wichita, Kansas. An anonymous Wichita resident claimed to see a UFO radiating its own light in May 2011. I saw a light in the sky. The only way I can describe it is the light was different from a star, the man told the National UFO Reporting Center. He spotted the peculiar light around 2 in the morning while he was outside smoking a cigarette a few miles from McConnell Air Force Base. I studied it for about 10 minutes and noticed it was oscillating slightly and making very small, rapid movements, he said. 7. Piedmont UFO phenomenon, Piedmont, Missouri. Since February 1973, hundreds of Piedmont residents have reported seeing flying objects and mysterious lights in the sky. A local high school basketball team supposedly witnessed a bright shaft of light beaming down from the atmosphere and noticed an object hovering in the distance. As the sightings continued, residents started to gather at a nearby landfill to watch the lights together, according to Zerkowski. Zerkowski has visited the area numerous times and has talked to locals about what they saw. The most recent time I was there, I talked to 2 women who actually saw the craft, he said. 8. UFO crash and retrieval, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. A Baptist minister was called to an apparent plane crash in 1941 to perform last rites for the deceased. But at the crash scene, the minister supposedly didn't see humans at all. Instead, he saw a disc-shaped object surrounded by tiny grey people. After the minister prayed for them, he was escorted away by the FBI. Zerkowski believes he has discovered the crash site, which is now a gravel pit. The gravel pit had destroyed any topography evidence of a crash, he said. 9. Mantell UFO incident, Owensboro, Kentucky. Captain Thomas Mantell was pilot for the Kentucky National Guard in 1948 when he received orders to fly after an unusual aerial object. The 25-year-old pilot took off after the craft in a P-51 Mustang fighter plane. Supposedly he crashed and died as he pursued the UFO. Believers say Mantell reported by radio that he could see tiny creatures in the mysterious aircraft. The Air Force announced that his death was a result of oxygen deprivation and that he was chasing after the planet Venus. Zerkowski believes the announcement was a government attempt to keep real information from the public. 10. UFO sighting, Roanoke, Virginia. In December 2010, a Roanoke resident reported seeing a disc-shaped orb zipping through the clouds. The witness was seeking a shortcut down a country road that turned out to be a dead end. As the car retraced the route, its passengers saw the mysterious aircraft moving westward at a very fast pace. The object also gave off a light blue aura and moved up and down without sound, the report to the National UFO Reporting Center reads.
And stop there. So, where does it read? Oh, right, you have to go there to the actual report. So we won't go there, but I did post the link so you can go and click on it and see where it leads. And this is a kit for serious UFO investigator, I guess. There's probably more that he probably needs on that list. So you got thermal camera, because that would be useful. Laser pointer, IR pointer. It's all sorts of stuff you need, really. And geo.
What you need to track down an alien. Chuck Zerkowski put together his UFO investigator vest in 2014. Law enforcement tactical vest that weighs about 11 kilograms with all his gear, 6 centimeter steel pocket knife, Lee Thurman multi-purpose knife, flashlight that can illuminate blood on the ground, walkie-talkie, for when he travels in a team, Glock pistol, Garmin GPS, for when he's traveling on foot. Law enforcement grade handheld metal detector, trivial depth meter, used to detect electromagnetic fields. A full spectrum digital camera modified to work in all modes of light. Glass vials, to store samples. Geiger counter, binoculars.
Oh yeah, I had to move the mattress over what I was reading out. Instead of sliding off the bed. Yeah. Yeah, so there's probably a few things there you should have on the list extra, I reckon, if you can afford it. So what do you reckon? Bulletproof vest. I suppose that could come handy if you get attacked by ghosts. I would like a taser as well. I suppose if it's energy, right? How would you battle energy form? Yeah, especially skinwalker rats, right? Full spectrum digital camera. I suppose that's pretty good though. But that's going to be, what, full spectrum? Still a certain range there, so you still need thermal that looks into the far infrared all the way up to microwave. Geiger counter is pretty useful. You can buy a cheap one from AliExpress for like $50. And you also need an EMF tri-field meter, which they use on ghost hunting shows. So we'll close that one down there. We're finished with it. And getting through it slowly. And we've still got 7 people watching, which is pretty good. But like I said, people want 10-minute whiz-bang, finely edited videos, and this is way more fun, I think, doing the investigation live and finding out things. My past research pointed to the Tasco hum. Isn't that only hum? Well, yeah, I don't know. It's the first time I've heard about it, actually. It's a good list to go through and look on the Google Earth and see where the 37 parallel is and the 40th and see how it lines up. But it's certainly something happening there where it lines up. Change of the magnetic field as it's been around the globe. Crystals and minerals under the ground there could be another thing that with the magnetic wave where it affects your brain, where you actually start experiencing stuff that doesn't actually, you actually see it in your mind rather than see it with your eyes, so to speak. But if that's the case, if you're running towards the door like I was in my thing that happened, you'd expect to see it all the time because it's there in your head, right? You don't have to turn around and see it like you would with a person. So you do your own debunk when you go through this stuff, right? Is it my mind playing tricks? Is it something in my eye, like a floater? Especially when you get over the age of 40, you start getting stuff in your eyes, especially me. So I'm well aware what my eyes are seeing. My left eye has got a cataracts growing on it, which creates a net curtain effect over your eye, but you still can see okay through it. It hasn't gone too bad. I think is it The Walking Dead, where they haven't got medical teams now, that the black man there, he's got one of his eyes that's clouded over. That's the cataracts. Apparently everybody gets them. It's like the white of the eye grows into your lens. Everybody gets it at some stage in their life. So let's carry on. So it's talking about Chuck again, but we'll read out some of it, see if it's anything that we haven't heard already. This one's definitely more interesting with all those images. So.
E37 latitude line, a paranormal freeway. Posted by Alejandro Rogers, October the 20th, 2011. I recently examined the 2011 UFO reports from MUFON to determine where the UFO hotspots were this year and made a notable discovery. I saw that the states lined up on the 37-degree latitude line, in the middle of the country, had an inordinate amount of reports per person. This was especially surprising to me because my friend Chuck Zerkowski had recently sent me a link to one of his blog posts regarding his 37-degree latitude theory. I didn't have his report in mind when I analyzed the sighting data. Chuck has investigated several cattle mutilations in southern Colorado over the past few years, and while preparing a talk for a recent UFO conference, he was trying to look for patterns in the places that the mutilations took place. With this on his mind, Colorado had its largest natural earthquake in a century. It was a 5.3 on the Richter scale and centered in the southwest part of the state. Within 15 hours, Virginia received one of the largest earthquakes it had ever had as well. It registered as a 5.8. Neither quake caused much damage, but Chuck noticed that they were both near the 37-degree latitude line. He then noticed that his cattle mutilation cases were also near the 37-degree latitude line.
So could that be like what they call leeways, grids of energy, where it sort of breaks into another dimension, maybe, or another multi-universe, or another similar planet. Who knows? Where wild animals come from one dimension, grab ours, and then take off, or suck it dry of blood and take off. But when you look into these cattle mutilations, though, they're not all mysterious. Chris O'Brien doesn't particularly like Linda Moulton Howe, and they're having a fight, but he said only 5 out of 300 cases were suspicious, which is not quite a big percentage. He thinks it's more like a secret government unit that does random testing, and they want to keep it on the quiet, so they do it with their helicopters or whatever, and cut them open with a scalpel or a laser and take out what they want, and then leave the rest of it and then fly away. But why would you leave it, though? If you took the whole cattle, it'd be less mysterious. It would be like someone had stolen the whole cattle to eat it. It's more likely the aliens think, oh, we'll leave the rest of it because the humans will eat it and barbecue, or maybe, you know. So yeah, cattle mutilations is a kind of strange one. If it was Black Ops doing secret testing to see if a disease leaked out of a lab, or see if it was spreading, or whether it died off, or maybe they were doing a secret test like they did with LSD with the troops. There's all sorts of theories you can pop out there where it's not actually aliens at all. What are these guys saying? Mantel was only one of the silver sent up to chase. The other pilots turned away, yeah. Yeah, and didn't they write it off as a weather balloon? Possibly a high altitude balloon that he saw. But if he saw aliens, I haven't really looked deep into that case, but a lot of the websites actually debunk it as explained. When you realise that these debunked sites actually emit a lot of information, you know, eyewitness accounts and other information, then makes you more question their motive, why they would debunk it so badly. If I debunk stuff, I'll leave an open question. Maybe there's more information that will change the direction of what you conclude, you know. But yeah, so let's just read out another chunk of this. So we got lots of topics all roll into one here with this particular article anyway, which should be like stuff for Robert to carry on with, you know. I don't know if he's out there tonight. I think he's gone to bed, isn't he? He might watch it later, hopefully.
Chuck decided to consult his sister Debbie Meyer, the MUFON state director for Missouri, a state that is also along the 37-degree latitude line. She said she had a cattle mutilation case in her state along with a large amount of UFO sightings in that area. Chuck found many UFO reports along the 37-degree latitude line and plotted the sightings along with the cattle mutilations on this map. He was so impressed by his findings that he dubbed the 37-degree latitude line the Paranormal Freeway.
So he's the one that made the nickname for it. By the sounds of it. Come on. The page wants to select it all.
In my report, I took the population of the states along with the number of reports each had received this year. I determined which states had the most sightings per population. Chuck's home state of Colorado was number 2 on the list, Missouri was number 5, Kansas, Kentucky, and Nevada, all states along the 37-degree latitude, also made it to the top 10. The states along the 37-degree latitude that were not in the top 10, California, Utah and Virginia, did not show significant activity as far as reports per population.
So that's interesting, that chart, yeah. It's good to see someone actually plotting it on the map, you know, that really helps see patterns. So if it was Black Ops doing random testing, you'd expect them to move along in a straight line maybe and see how far it spreads each way, right? Sort of makes sense. So yeah, interesting.
I found a map of Air Force bases in the United States to find out if there was more USAF activity in the states with higher reports. Colorado and Kansas have bases near the 37-degree latitude line. In fact, the USAF Academy is near Chuck's Paranormal Freeway, along with Peterson of home of Air Force Space Command, and Schriever of the newest and one of the most secretive USAF bases. Chuck noted that, although it isn't on this map, Area 51 is also nearly right at 37 degrees latitude. However, the other UFO hotspots along the Paranormal Freeway do not have many USAF bases.
So yeah, there's plenty of material here that we could look at, Rob. Some stage. It's never ending.
Over the years there have been many stories of UFOs in areas with nuclear facilities. Most nuclear silos can be found in the area where Colorado, Wyoming, and Nebraska meet, north of the Paranormal Freeway. As for nuclear power plants, they can mostly be found on the East Coast. There are less of them in the central United States.
To me, it doesn't sort of show a pattern of the nuclear things all over the place. It shows how many nuclear things, power plants that America has, right? Crazy. So let's move down. Must be a wee bit left.
So what does this all mean? I have no idea. Chuck has speculated that perhaps there are secret military bases in these areas. It is hard to say, and Debbie says she is still in the middle of increased UFO reports. She says, we've already had 54 reports in October. Some are a flying stunt team, some are drones, and some are B-2 bombers. But a good deal of them are large hovering triangle-shaped craft with orange lights. On October the 4th, the triangle craft was seen by several witnesses hovering over the intersection of two major highways. Let us know if you have any ideas on what may be the secret of the Paranormal Freeway. Chuck, Debbie and I will also be discussing this issue along with Missouri's recent UFO sightings on Open Minds Radio.
Well, the ancient people used summer solstice and winter solstice, and that's where it all relates to, right? In America, so yeah. I don't know. We'd have to go back to that map, but I don't think UK passes through it. They're more towards the 40th, maybe even higher, 50th. So yeah, be interested to see what lines run for UK actually. Let's just do a quick check on the map again. You got the Stonehenge and all that there, haven't you? Stonehenge, and a lot of paranormal stuff happening. And you can see New Zealand, what lines we got here. So we got running straight through Christchurch, 43, 45 parallel, south parallel, 43 more. See, I don't know, 43, 43, 45. I don't know if that's any significance to my paranormal stuff. So let's go up to UK. And what's Australia? Outback straight runs through one here. It's all rotated around again. What lines have we got there? Come on. Right. 24th parallel. Straight through the middle there. And the equator is above, isn't it? There is the equator, I think. Equator. Which runs straight through, what's those ones, islands there? Philippines, is it? Indonesia. I can't even say it now. Indonesia. Blah. Okay, so what do we got? Borneo. There was a lot of wars over that location there, wasn't there? Pacific Wars. Gulf of Tonkin. Indonesia, there we go. What else we got? Malaysia. And then we got going through this one. Parallel north. And finally to Middle East. Where's UK going? Yeah. So what they got? My globe keeps rotating. There we go. That's beautiful. Okay, what do we got? Whereabouts is Stonehenge on this map? So they're 50. I said 50, didn't I? What mean 50 all the way up to maybe 60, even close to 60. So yeah, that's what we wanted to know there. Yeah, so we read out all that, didn't we? So we'll close that one down. On to the next topic, I think. Quartz. A lot of stuff is related to quartz, I reckon. So we've got some pictures of quartz here. It's quite pretty. There we go. Rose quartz. I'm not sure if that's rock crystal. Is that still quartz? Let's see. What's it say? Photos of quartz. So all these quartz then, are they? How do you say that word? Amethyst. Careful type rock. What else we got here? Smoky quartz. There you go. Silicon. Oxygen. Colorless, purple, red, rose, black, yellow. It seems to have all different colors here, doesn't it? So we'll just read out all that. This is actually a full breakdown of quartz crystal. As you can see, it's quite a complicated website. It's talking about the structures and that, which could be part of the clue to it influence the magnetic fields or energy waves passing through it. So maybe it depends on how much you got actually buried right underneath the ground where you located it. which makes me wonder. We're on an ancient riverbed here, which would have had a lot of quartz rock. So it makes me wonder if there's a lot of quartz buried underneath this particular location of the house. So yeah, got it. Left-hand quartz. It's talking about the rotation of the crystals, but looks like it's right-handed quartz. And then it's talking about what's this one? Cubes, octagons, shapes. Mother Nature's amazing. It takes the easiest path for least energy, right? So, and it forms all these amazing shapes, which you think would be man-made, but it's all in nature, right? So who would have thought a cube would form naturally in nature? But it does, obviously. And what else we got here? Various shaped quartzes again. Some of them are quite pretty. I can see why people collect it, right? But I wouldn't want to buy it from some sort of fraud at Contact in the Desert for $200 or whatever. Go hunting yourself. What else we got here? Anti-gravity craft, X-shaped, as UFO seeker would say. Bullshit. Japanese law. Right-handed Delphine, has it? Left-handed Delphine. So I'm not too sure what they mean by that. The direction of the crystal faces, maybe. Irregular. It does look irregular. Japan Law Twin. That's quite a strange name. Coloured quartz varies. What colours is it? Well, you can see it's quite a varied colour. Yeah. Smoky quartz. Amethyst, which is purple. Citrine, which would be that whitey stuff. Pink quartz, and very small writing there. Pressolite, whatever that is. Black, is it? I'll go with that one there. There we go. Got it lined up for us. So the first one, smoky, was black. Purple. What colour would you say that was? Brown. Pink. And that one, I don't know what you'd call that colour. Let's see. It goes on a bit, I tell you, this page. I'll post a link to it. It's called mindata.org. ORG. Does that stand for organisation? So I'll just post it here. And it's actually got an interactive map at the bottom here somewhere. Whereabouts was it now? Further down. Oh, look at that. We've got an emanation. What else we got? We got the spectrogram in it, which changes the colours, obviously. X-ray powdered diffraction. And what do we got here? Other languages. No, where's the map thing? Related materials. Goes on and on and on. On and on and on. Metamorphic rock. Sedimentary rock. What else we got? So we got a sort of map here of, what is it? It's different locations of quartz, and guess what? Kentucky is one of them. And you can see, which I was telling Robert about, that wells. This clips on the edge there, I think, to where the Welsh Triangle is. So these are mine locations where they mine it. Got 5 there, look, the triangle. But yeah, wells there, look, just gets in there. And of location. So you zoom into this map here. So it's on the link there if you want to have a check it out. So we got Kentucky this direction, New York, Kentucky. Where's Kentucky on that map? Should be up here, shouldn't it? What's that location there? Bridgeport. Remember Bridgeport? Where that guy we were talking about last live? What was his name? Bender. A lot of quartz there, which they keep saying is a good way to get a portal to paranormal activity. And it's all over the place there. So where's the Kentucky one? We're going above it. That should be here, shouldn't it? Tennessee. Virginia Beach. So why haven't we got Kentucky on it? It should be Kentucky in here somewhere. Why can't I see it? Washington, Columbus. And we can't search on it, can we? Philadelphia. It's got to be up here, isn't it? So I was trying to verify the Sommerset thing where they said there was the largest deposit of quartz in Kentucky, and I was trying to use this map to prove that was the case. But I think they have got some mines directly under that city there, so whereabouts is this? This one's heavily mined here. Norwich. 10, big location there. What's that one? Well, I'm not sure why I can't see Kentucky. Maybe it's here. Maybe I'm too high up. Asheville. That sounds familiar. Is that the one there for Kentucky? Is that Kentucky? I can't quite see. My eyes don't like that small print they've got on the map here. Why can't I see it? North. Richmond. We should be able to barrel down on it. Philadelphia. It's kind of strange. Why can't I see? Why can't I see it? Atlanta. Where's damn Kentucky on this damn stupid map? And of course we've got some up here as well. Well, Seattle. That one come up straight away, easy. What else we got here? Don't know where that is. And pass on that one. What's that one there? United States. A lot of foresty areas there. But yeah, it's got to be in Kentucky there, right? It's got to be around that location. 20 up there. Not so much in South America there, which is quite interesting. It's right around the edges. South Africa, not too much. Tasmania and New South Wales. Not so much in Russia, but there is on the coastline there. England. What's that location there? Italy. Yeah. Let's just read out some of it anyway. America, they've just got so many place names and stuff. It does my head in trying to figure out where all these locations are. So let's see what the specification on quartz is to see if it's really a mystery substance.
Quartz has been known and appreciated since prehistoric times. The most ancient name known is recorded by Theophrastus in about 300–325 BCE, or crystallos. The varietal names, rock crystal and burr crystal, preserve the ancient usage. The root words signifying ice cold and to contract or solidify suggest the ancient belief that crystallos was permanently solidified ice. The earliest printed use of quartz was anonymously published in 1505, but attributed to a physician in Freiburg, Germany, Ulrich Rollin von Kolb, aka Rollin von Kalou, 1527. Agricola used the spelling quasum, Agricola 1530, as well as quartz, but Agricola also referred to crystallum, silicum, silex, and silius. Tom Cave, 1941, suggested an etymology for quartz. The Saxon miners called large veins, gang, and the small cross veins or stringers, Quartluft. The name or erz was applied to the metallic minerals, the gang or to the vein material as a whole. In the Erzgebirge, silver ore is frequently found in small cross veins composed of silica. It may be that this ore was called by the Saxon miners Quartlufterz or the cross vein ore. Such a clumsy word as Quartlufterz could easily be condensed to quartz and then to quartz, and eventually become quaz in German, quasum in Latin and quartz in English. Tom Cave, 1941, QV, noted that quaz, in its various spellings, was not used by other noted contemporary authors. Quaz was used in later literature referring to the Saxony mining district, but seldom elsewhere. Gradually, there were more references to quartz, E. Brown in 1685 and Johann Georg Wallerius in 1747. In 1669, Nikolaus Steno Niels Stiensen obliquely formulated the concept of the constancy of interfacial angles in the caption of an illustration of quartz crystals. He referred to them as crystallus and crystallus montium. Tom Cave, 1941, also noted that Erasmus Bartholinus, 1669, used the various spellings for crystal to signify other species than quartz, and that crystal could refer to other angular to corpora, bodies with angles. In any case, in the second half of the 9th century, quartz became established as a name of a particular mineral, and the name crystal became a generic term synonymous with the old term carus angulatum.
So did you get all that? This is like going back to university again, and you'll be tested on it, right? Remembering all that sort of crazy names. So yeah, definitely something interesting about that is that it's silicon, right? Silicon of oxygen. And it forms these crystals. And of course, what do we use in microprocessor? We use silicon. So could the silicon actually be like, could it be used to store information, you know? You talked about aliens having crystals. That's sort of, they somehow can get it to be like a, what do you call it, neural net, holographic projection computer type thing, where they can play back images and stuff. I think it's very possible, you know, storing information at atom level in a matrix of crystals. I think that could be the way to go for biological computers. Maybe the Earth is actually a computer. Maybe that's quite a good possibility, you know. And we're just getting in the way. And maybe we're doing damage to it, and that's why the aliens are coming to try and stop us doing damage to it by letting off nuclear bombs and stuff. Maybe we're part of the processing power of the universe. Because they talk about, who was it now? String theory guy. They talked about there being some intelligence in the universe to do with this type of stuff in their mathematics. I did mention it before, but I've forgotten the name. So, what else do we need? Quartz structures. Let's just have a read of that one there. Because this, again, you can see here, it's definitely something magical with crystals. And how they align, how they get strong. Especially carbon. Carbon also has these sort of chains as well. There could be something to crystals, you know. It's just that we haven't discovered it yet.
The structure of quartz was deciphered by Bragg and Gibbs in 1925. For a review of the structure and symmetry features of quartz, see Heaney, 1994. Its basic building block is the CO4 group, in which 4 oxygen atoms surround a central silicon atom to form a tetrahedron. Since each oxygen is member of 2 CO4 groups, the formula of quartz is CO2. The CO4 tetrahedra form a 3-dimensional network, and many mineralogy textbooks classify quartz as a network silicate or tetrasilicate. Quartz can be thought of as being made of 3-fold and 6-fold helical chains of CO4 tetrahedra that run parallel to the C-axis. Figure 1 shows 2 representations of a 3-fold CO4 helix and its relationship to the quartz unit cell. To the right a ball model with red oxygen and white silicon atoms. To the left a tetrahedral model, with the corners of the tetrahedra at the position of the oxygen atoms. 6 of such helices are connected to form a ring that surrounds a central channel which runs parallel to the C-axis, sometimes called C-channel. The CO4 tetrahedra around the central C-channel form 2 independent 6-fold helices. Figure 2 shows 2 views of the corresponding structure, looking in the direction of the C-axis in the top row, and looking in the direction of an axis in the bottom row. Like quartz crystals, the ring is 6-sided but has a trigonal symmetry. The large channels are an important structural feature of quartz because they may be occupied by small locations. You can explore the crystal structure of quartz with the interactive tool Lismol further down this page.
So, I know we do use it in watches, which obviously there must be something special about it. So let's find out how they work. So let's just read out a chunk of this, see what it tells us. I'm not too sure, I just did a Google search on it as you saw. So I don't know all the answers, that's why we got to do the research. There's some connection going on here.
The trouble with pendulum clocks and ordinary watches is that you have to keep remembering to wind them. If you forget, they stop and you have no idea what time it is. Another difficulty with pendulum clocks is that they depend on the force of gravity, which varies very slightly from place to place. That means a pendulum clock tells time differently at high altitudes from at sea level. Pendulums also change length as the temperature changes, expanding slightly on warm days and contracting on cold days, which makes them less accurate again. Quartz watches solve all these problems. They are battery-powered and, because they use so little electricity, the battery can often last several years before you need to replace it. They are also much more accurate than pendulum clocks. Quartz watches work in a very different way to pendulum clocks and ordinary watches. They still have gears inside them to count the seconds, minutes, and hours and sweep the hands around the clock face. But the gears are regulated by a tiny crystal of quartz instead of a swinging pendulum or a moving balance wheel. Gravity doesn't figure in the workings at all, so a quartz clock tells the time just as well when you're climbing Mount Everest as it does when you're at sea.
So how does it work? Is it like an oscillation? Or is it... it has to be an oscillation. How does it work?
Quartz sounds exotic with a Q and a Z. It's a great word to play in Scrabble, but it's actually one of the most common minerals on Earth. It's made from a chemical compound called silicon dioxide. Silicon is also the stuff from which computer chips are made, and you can find it in sand and most types of rock. Perhaps the most interesting thing about quartz is that it's piezoelectric. That means if you squeeze a quartz crystal, it generates a tiny electric voltage. The opposite is also true. If you apply a voltage to a piece of quartz, it vibrates at a precise frequency. It shakes an exact number of times each second.
So there you go, there's the clue. Is that the little gizmo there? charge it, and then they get a waveform from it, which they use it as a back and forth motion. So let's read out the last bit. Are you learning lots?
Inside a quartz clock or watch, the battery sends electricity to the quartz crystal through an electronic circuit. The quartz crystal oscillates, vibrates back and forth at a precise frequency, exactly 32,768 times each second. The circuit counts the number of vibrations and uses them to generate regular electric pulses, 1 per second. These pulses can either power an LCD display showing the time numerically, or they can drive a small electric motor, a tiny stepping motor, in fact, turning gear wheels that spin the clock's second, minute, and hour hands.
There we go. And we got a little picture. How about that? In theory, it works like this. So let's read out that. I know this wasn't in my topic list, but still. All these things that we take for granted around us and we don't know how they work. Someone's already figured it out for us. Come on, you stupid thing.
In theory, it works like this. Battery provides current to microchip circuit. Microchip circuit makes quartz crystal, precisely cut and shaped like a tuning fork, oscillate, vibrate 32,768 times per second. Microchip circuit detects the crystal's oscillations and turns them into regular electric pulses, 1 per second. Electric pulses drive miniature electric stepping motor. This converts electrical energy into mechanical power. Electric stepping motor turns gears. Gears sweep hands around the clock face to keep time.
So, how does that relate to UFOs and paranormal? Well, paranormal, obviously, if you're going to get a electromagnetic field that's passing through these crystals underground, it's going to create an oscillation, right? It's going to create possibly a hum, even, and that might be explaining the humming. If it's vibrating, then it might vibrate like it's got some ferric metal rocks around it. So maybe it could cause a vibration off the ground, which creates sound to the ear, infrasound. But also, could it affect the human mind? I don't know. Could it make you see things that are not there? There's all sorts of possibilities. So there we go. I think that's all we need to do on that. I'll probably give you a link to that if you want to read more of it. Like I said, you always learn new stuff on this channel, hopefully. But we've still got more questions than answers, right? So, but you can see this page goes on and on and on, right? And it's talking about atom layers here, handedness of quartz crystal, and you could see how you could pack a lot of information if you could store information at atom level. It could be like you know how we got NAND memory that's made from silicon as well. I can't see why crystals couldn't possibly be used. And then you can shoot a laser light through it, oscillate at a certain frequency, and it could play back the information. I think maybe someone needs to think out the box here and actually look at how that could be used. And maybe it's already being used. Maybe it's artificially generated a computer that attracts UFOs to it. Right? Sends out a signal that we don't actually understand yet. At a interdimensional level, interdimensional communicator. Which brings us to the next thing. So I ain't going to go through too much of that there. In fact, the time's running out, isn't it? So what have we got left? We've got ghost boxes and Aboriginal art. So maybe I might better get through it. Might be a wee bit late. So yeah, better catch up on the side chat. Anything that I've missed there? The other hand, I think second largest in Alaska. spot on. I'm not sure what I said there. About crystals storing information. We are made of carbon, water, and where else do we find tetrahedron shapes? Yep. We're all part of the machine, right? It's a bit like Google, the like and dislike button, right? We're part of the algorithm for Google. Well, maybe all of us, all our atoms, how we react to it is all part of a matrix computer. We're living in a matrix and we don't even understand it. So, spirit box communication. Where do we begin on this one? This one's quite a big topic. Maybe I should leave that for another Sunday, right? Maybe I'll just skip all this one, but it is a big subject. But it also connects into Hellyer, and how they were using it on the show. So maybe I need to come back to that one. It is a big one. Telephone to the dead. Well, actually, it's a telephone to aliens. So was the original idea. Remember we were talking about Bender? Here's the guy that invented the first ghost box, which you see on ghost shows now. He's died in 2014, I think it is. I'm not sure what from. Probably cancer, I think. But I'd have to find that out. So they used it on Paranormal State, which wasn't particularly that popular show, was it, for ghost hunters? People thought it was a wee bit drama. So yeah, it's got various knobs here. Basically, it's like a radio that tunes between frequencies. Was the first one they did here, I think. And this one then started skipping across bands. So they kept making these different versions up, where they could hear voices in between the stations, which go across a station, go across multiple bands, the same voice. A lot of skeptics say it's this pareidolia of the ear, where they hear things. But yeah, I've seen enough ghost shows now, and yeah, I don't particularly like the radio ones. But EVPs, on the other hand, some of them are clear as day. You can't deny that they're picking up voices as they're talking, because they show them on the camera at the same time talking, so they sort of back up their claims on those shows. But the skeptics don't watch that, right? So they don't watch the ghost shows because they think it's all made up, which it means they're not really proper investigators as far as I'm concerned. If you're not into the paranormal as well as regular science, then you're not really a real scientist. But what they do in one of these articles, I think they pull it apart and try and analyze what it's doing. Was it that one? It could be that one. Maybe not that one. This one here, the broken radio, the skeptic has called it. So he's got original wooden case here. Yeah, it looks like a homemade radio inside of it. There you go, crystal radio, I guess. So they're sort of trying to debunk it there, pull it apart. But I think there's something in it. If you watch Hellyer, season 2, where they use the God helmet, which is like an advanced version of communicating with the dead, but it affects your frontal lobe because it uses magnets, doesn't it, to influence it. She was reading out stuff where the guy was asking questions and they couldn't hear each other. It was quite interesting. It seems like they were talking with each other. So yeah, unless it's totally faked and they were putting it on, I don't know. But yeah, we'll go over that more detail next time. So here we go. We've got this article here talking about Australian artwork on that's 5,000 years old, but from what I've read on the wiki page, I think they said it was between 3,800 to 4,000 years old. So there's a conflict there already in articles. called The Sky Beings. So let's read out this and talk about it.
A 5,000-year-old Aboriginal cave painting of the Wandjina, known as the Sky Beings.
Wandjina. So straight away I looked at this picture here. It does look very alien grey-like, especially with the black eyes. That one there especially. But my gut feeling is this has been touched up, and it just makes me wonder if the shape of the head was more round like this one here, that this one has been modified a wee bit with the touching up that's been happening. See, this one here has sort of been changed as well. And here, down here, it's really faded, so I reckon that's probably what it looked like here. But yeah, it's still interesting. There's no story of aliens coming down, though. When we look into it in more detail here, it's more mythological and cloud beings and rain gods and all that sort of stuff. So,
in brief, the facts. 5,000-year-old cave art from Australia depicts strange beings that resemble what many perceive to represent the modern-day grey alien. These beings were known as Wandjina, cloud spirits and sky beings. Reflect on. Ancient cave art depicting peculiar beings has been found all over the world, dating back thousands of years. Perhaps these beings weren't really mythical. Those who have gone deep into the lore associated with the UFO and extraterrestrial phenomenon are no doubt aware just how far back the phenomenon may go. Today, the UFO phenomenon is documented quite well, and it's taken very seriously as, in the past decade alone, it's gained a tremendous amount of well-deserved credibility. But there is also the fact that the documentation of this phenomenon dates back thousands of years. There are multiple cases outlined throughout history, and many of them you can find in Dr. Jacques Vallée's book, Wonders in the Sky.
So, Jacques Vallée, everybody seems to like him. UFO fields, because he comes across as a credible researcher. Although some of the skeptics say he's a lot of it's pseudoscience that he worked on with PK energy and what is it? Remote viewing, but he worked on quite a lot of the scientific stuff to do with computers. So again, we've got Richard Dolan piping his pipe here, which kind of puts me off this article. Once I hear Richard Dolan, what's he got to know about Australian Aborigines, for God's sake, you know? We need to listen to the people that know about it, not people that read about it.
But how far back does documentation go? Discoveries of ancient cave art all over the world raise some interesting questions, especially ancient artwork in the form of cave paintings that were discovered in Kimberley, Australia. These specific paintings I am referring to were created approximately 5,000 years ago by the native Aborigines, and they illustrate entities that they refer to as the Wandjina, or sky beings.
Yeah, we got that much. So what's Richard Dolan got to say?
In the Aboriginal tradition, these beings were part of the beginning of creation and had great power over nature. One of them even became the Milky Way. When looking at the haunting images of the Wandjina, it is easy to think of grey aliens, oversized heads, no hair, large black eyes, no ears, no mouth, and pure white skin. Until the modern era of UFOs and depictions of that beings, scholars had no point of reference for the Wandjina, no way to understand why these native Australians would create god beings so radically different in appearance from themselves. UFOs.
So I did a search to see what comes up, and they call them petroglyphs. Okay, so you can see a lot of these do look like clouds with faces in them. So to me, could have someone just been watching the sky where the cloud passed over the sun, and the glow around their heads is the sun, and they started seeing little black bits in the cloud that looked like faces. It's real possible. And of course, it's something to tell around a campfire, right? To retell the story, pass it down. It sort of grew into a bigger story. And you can see here, some of them look more like human skulls of anything, right? Rather than alien heads here. And we've got these ones here, the little round circle eyes. There's no ones that actually look like clouds. See if I can zoom in more on that one. See, they look like little clouds with little black bits in them. Not actually got bodies, arms, or anything there. And then we got this one here on the left side where they've been turned into robots with arms and legs. So yeah, got passed down over hundreds of years and they changed it. Kind of strange. And then we've got one here, it looks like it's loaded with a load of lizards and snakes. Lizard people! Okay, and then got one here, it looks like a ghost. It's radiating energy like an angel. What else we got? Then you got these ones that look like skulls on the right here. Don't really look like alien greys. And this one's definitely a round head, isn't it? But definitely the black eyes in there. Look at these ones here. They look more like modern day Christian saints sort of pictation there. So has it been influenced over the years? I don't know. Then they've got bodies and arms on those ones as well. Apparently, it's against their belief for anyone other than selected people to actually draw the images. So yeah, I just wonder how many of these ones we're seeing actually illegal ones, you know, that have been approved by the tribe. And what's that one over here? So other pictures of humans, nothing to do with the sky beings, obviously. And more pictures of humans, funny shapes there. It's all pretty much the same though, isn't it? So it's sort of got a pattern to it. Certainly better artists than the Hopi Indians were, because theirs was more stick images, right? And these ones are more filled in, and they used 3 colors. Brown, as you can see here, this is a close-up, black and white. Or maybe a yellow, white. Or maybe a yellow as well. So there we go. Just go back to the document. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica. Why have they got that in there?
Wandjina style, also spelled Wandjina, type of depiction in Australian cave paintings of figures that represent mythological beings associated with the creation of the world. Called Wandjina figures, the images are believed by modern Aborigines to have been painted by the Wandjinas, prehistoric inhabitants of the Kimberley region in northwest Australia, the only area where cave paintings in Wandjina style have been found. Among the Aborigines, each Wandjina image is renovated or repainted by the oldest living member supposedly descended from its originator source.
So there you go, that's what I was saying before. Now, some people were talking on Il's page, Il from MUFON. Again, he started a bit of a debate. Skeptics versus believers of religion and relationship to it being aliens. But as you know, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, that would put it about 1600. That's when they had ships on the sea, right? So could it be that the sailors and pirates, of course, didn't they wear a lot of white, flowery type shirts? So could that be what they saw? Like a galleon ship that sort of was approaching the coastline, and with Fata Morgana, where it's got atmospheric inversion, could it been look like it was floating in the air as it was approaching, and it slowly come down to sea level, and these strange men with their helmets, or like Spanish helmets, would come off, that radiated sun off the helmets, so maybe that's where the legend of the sky beings come from, is what someone said on his page, which kind of makes sense. The other one would be maybe they were walking across the desert exploring it, and they saw these people approaching them across the desert, and as you know, you get the Fata Morgana there as well, where it creates a mirage effect and a wavy sort of illusion. And it may appear that these white-clothed men were walking towards them, and they look like they're coming from the sky, which is also another possibility. And as they got closer, they look like they're coming down. So, could that where the legend was first born? Who knows? Because they would be used to seeing themselves walk across the desert and maybe look like they're hovering. So yeah, I don't know. It's too much on that. Whether it's just seeing laying on their backs and just watching clouds go by and seeing things in clouds, you could explain it away like that way, and maybe it started raining or something, and they thought every time they see the sky beings that it's going to rain, that it's like a religious thing that happens, rather than actually being alien rays, which we now see in images, because our brains are sort of modern brains to see that sort of stuff now. We've been conditioned already, you see.
Based on everything we know now, maybe these beings weren't quite mythical as suggested. Many scholars also emphasize that they were considered cloud spirits. Source, again, there are many such strange depictions found all over the world. For example, not long ago, more paintings were discovered by scholars in Chhattisgarh, India. According to archaeologist Junior Bagat, these paintings depict extraterrestrials. The Chhattisgarh State Department of Archaeology and Culture was planning to seek the help of NASA and ISRO for research regarding the paintings. That's the last I heard about that. The findings suggest that humans in prehistoric times may have seen or imagined beings from other planets, which still create a curiosity among people and researchers. Extensive research is needed for further findings. Chhattisgarh presently doesn't have any such expert who could give you clarity in the subject. The paintings are done in natural colors that have hardly faded despite the years. The strangely carved figures are seen holding weapon-like objects and do not have clear features. The nose and mouth are missing, and in a few pictures they are even shown wearing spacesuits. We can't refuse the possibility of imagination by prehistoric men, but humans usually fancy such things. Junior Bagat, source.
So, as I was saying, if you had like Spanish people coming off the shore, walking towards them, their metal armor, and from a distance they wouldn't see their faces, they would see the metal armor glistening. Would they see that as a spacesuit? More than likely, because the Aborigines of Australia don't wear clothes, they just wear like a cloth thing around their waist. So yeah, because it's so damn hot, 45 degrees Celsius, what's that in Fahrenheit? Where they're talking about anyway. Temperature, let's see. Temperature of the Kimberleys, I think it is. Temperature. Oh, Kimberleys. Is that how you spell it? Did I even type it right? Kimberley weather. Okay. Want the average climate dry. So much for a quick answer. Let's have a look. As you know, there's big fires going on in Australia at the moment. So what does it say here? It's not giving us any numbers. Oh, here we go. May 31. 88 Fahrenheit, 18 degrees low, because deserts generally get cold, don't they? July, 30, it's dropping a wee bit. August, 32. September, going up now. That's our summer, 35. 94 Fahrenheit. Goes down to a lower room temperature, 20 degrees. You could live with that, I suppose. October, 37. Here we go. We're getting up to 45 now. 0.6, almost 39, 38. November. What have we got here? 39 degrees Celsius. Still pretty hot. But I've known it to be up to 45, I'm pretty sure. So that sort of gives you a rough idea. Dolan goes on to describe many other examples in his book. So what book has he written? Has he written another book on the Australian stuff?
Dolan goes on to describe many other examples in his book. There are many such ancient paintings on rocks and in caves around the world that depict what look like cat beings. In the northern Italian region of Lombardy, there is a rock painting dating to the Copper Age, between 5,000 and 7,000 years ago. It depicts apparent priests or god figures. Each of them has what appears to be a halo, except that these halos look rather more like helmets, with straight lines extending out from them.
Subjective. So yeah, like I said, it might just be they've got the helmet that's reflecting the light back off, rays of light. It's all interpretation, isn't it? How you see things. The takeaway. Speaking of which, I'll probably be getting on to dinner time soon.
The takeaway: perhaps some of these beings are indeed extraterrestrial. Perhaps some of these beings are still visiting us today. The realization of this seems to have occurred throughout human history, but as we discover more and become more technologically advanced ourselves, perhaps some type of global interaction is part of our future. Perhaps it has already been for beings on other worlds. Always interesting to think about, because these realizations do indeed have tremendous implications.
So there's a link to that if you want to go over it again. I think I had some more stuff here, so just hang on. We'll just probably got enough time to cover it. So there's a Wikipedia on it. So let's see what they say. It's best, as research you do, you always look at multiple things to see if there's any things that sort of conflict.
The Wandjina, sometimes Wandjina, are cloud and rain spirits from Australian Aboriginal mythology that are depicted prominently in rock art in Australia. Some of the artwork in the Kimberley region of Western Australia dates back approximately 4,000 years ago. The stories of the Wandjina and the artwork depicting them remain important to the Mo-Wandjum community of Indigenous people. Wandjina were the inspiration for a 1966 children's fantasy television series, Wandjina, produced by ABC Television in 1966.
I don't think I've seen it. So that brings us into Dreamtime here, which is meant to be the time before the Earth existed, right? How the planet was formed. So every culture seems to have this element in their, what you'd say, history. People always want to know where they come from and what's life all about. Somehow I don't think it's ever going to be answered. And even what the universe is, and it's so big, until we get out in space and improve our technology so we can travel faster. Also, if you have a look at these ones with the thing around their head, someone mentioned that it looks like it could be red hair, the red hair outline here you get, which would fit with people from Celtic and other places where they had the red-brown hair. But I don't know. It sort of does look like it could be like here. But yeah, it's interpretation again, right?
Dreamtime legends. Edit. Dreamtime stories say the Wandjina created the landscape and its inhabitants, and continued to have influence over both. When the spirits found the place they would die, they painted their images on cave walls and entered a nearby waterhole. These paintings were then refreshed by Aborigines as a method of regenerating life force. 1. The Wandjina can punish those who break the law with floods, lightning and cyclones.
Yep. So again, sounds more religious than scientific, but the point there about the law of floods and all that, that these people seem to punish us, right? How many times have we heard that in religious things? So why would the aliens punish us for breaking the laws of floods? What's that mean? Blocking off rivers? I'm not sure. Damming up lakes? Lightning? Not too sure what they mean by that. It's traditional rock artwork. Still interesting though. I think when we can start connecting it to also other locations, say, oh, we've seen those beings with the light beams coming off. But I don't think that Hopi Indians had the light beam ones, did they? They definitely had Spanish there, because you got Mexico and South America talking Spanish and Spanish spelling influence.
Traditional rock artwork. Edit. The broad stroke artwork of the Wandjina rock art dates around 38,004,000 years ago. The emergence of this art style follows the end of the millennium-long drought that gave way to a wetter climate characterized by regular monsoons. 3. The Wandjina paintings have common colors of black, red and yellow on a white background. The spirits are depicted alone or in groups, vertically or horizontally depending on the dimensions of the rock, and are sometimes depicted with figures and objects like the rainbow serpent or yams. Common composition is with large upper bodies and heads that may show eyes and nose, but typically no mouth. 2 explanations have been given for this. They are so powerful they do not require speech, and if they had mouths, the rain would never cease. Around the heads of Wandjina are lines or blocks of color, depicting lighting coming out of transparent helmets. 2. Today, the paintings are still believed to possess these powers, and therefore are to be approached and treated respectfully. Each site and painting has a name. Indigenous people of the Wandjina community repaint the images to ensure the continuity of the Wandjina's presence. 4. Annual repainting in December or January also ensures the arrival of the monsoon rains, according to Wandjina belief. 5. Repainting has occurred so often that at one site the paint is over 40 layers deep. The painting style has evolved during this process. More recent figures are stockier, and some now possess eyelashes.
Okay, so depictions on back. Okay, let's have a read of that one, because we've only seen it on cave walls so far.
Depictions on bark. Edit. In late 1960s and early 1970s, several Wandjina artists depicted traditional Wandjina on pieces of string bark. 7. These artworks were sold mainly through the mission at Kalambaru. Some of the important artists from this region include Alec Minjal Manganu. 8. Charlie Numdelmore. 9. And Jack Caridada. 10. These artworks are now in major museum collections around the world.
Yeah, so they made their money out of that one. Other depictions, last bit, yeah.
Other depictions. Edit. In 2007, graffiti depictions of Wandjina appeared in Perth, Western Australia. Styles ranged from stencil work to a spray-painted Wandjina driving a pink car. Using Flickr and blogs, several people engaged in Wandjina watching, documenting the Wandjina graffiti they found. 11. These wandering Wandjina angered and upset some indigenous people who say that only certain of their people are permitted to depict the Wandjina, without saying who these people are. 12. A short film, who painted as Wandjina, discussed the Aboriginal reaction. 13 images of the Wandjina are displayed on the walls of the Ringwood Magistrates Court in Victoria. These are referenced as produced the National Gallery of Victoria.
So, yeah, so modern day people were duplicating it without permission of the original tribe, right? So they got upset there. But yeah, obviously they're out to make money from it. That's fairly obvious. So, my other thing, you may remember I talked about ancient airships. Australia's a wee bit too far out the range of the air currents I talk about that goes around the middle of the planet there, and was it the 24th? Was it? Yeah, 24th parallel tends to go around that location. But yes, I don't think it's going to be ancient airships coming down from the sky with people wearing white and strange looking masks, you know. So yeah, I don't know. That's possible. Maybe they did go down that far, or one got off course and it drifted over to Australia. The airships. So yeah, can't discount anything really. We can add in our own stuff as we go to everybody else's theories. That there may have been some ancient, knowledgeable people that had discovered balloons and used it to map the world, and yeah, I can't see why it's not possible. And of course, airships would be made out of material that decays very quickly and disappears and leaves no trace. So if there was like a disaster where there's a war, or there's like the wildfire of Australia at the moment that wipes out the whole tribes of knowledgeable people, which I don't think the Aborigines were. There was a more advanced people maybe from Africa, that location there, that sort of integrated themselves with South America, India, that sort of region mostly. Because there's a lot of parallels there. So if you ain't watched that airship episode I created on Egypt, go and dig it up again. Put some images and maps and pictures of locations of pyramids, of course. I suppose you could search it here. I think I got a playlist for it, have I? I'll just do a search. Airships. Airship. I do talk about airships quite a lot, actually. Well, stealth blimps. There we go. This one here. Modern day mystery with the triangle craft. The thing with Art Bell's sight with the airship, though, it moves slowly, which is kind of a strange thing to do. Slowly overhead with a hum or whatever. Did it lose its cloaking? It's possible. But yeah, you wouldn't want to be hanging around in the sky moving that slowly so everybody gets to see where it's heading towards. So something must have gone wrong. But it is in a remote area, I guess. So looks like the doorbell's ringing. So yeah, that one's posted now. So where do we get to? Next stage. Crackbots, no. The artwork we can close down. Okay, so Aboriginal Dreamtime. So this is the last thing I'm going to do. These last two ones, alright. What else we got? Oh no, looks like there's a wee bit more here. Australian Aboriginal culture and possible UFO connections. So we've got to get to that one. So Dreamtime. So let's just read out a bit more on Dreamtime here. And we've got some more images to look at. Carbon dating. Alright. Carbon dating, there is a limitation to carbon dating, isn't it? Is it only effective between 20,000 and 30,000 years maximum or something? and after that it's no good, right? You have to use some other carbon dating. Didn't we cover that? Some say I remember looking at something. Maybe it wasn't on a live, but maybe I looked at it personally. But you have to use some other type of dating for other elements that break down over time. Can't remember what it was now, but anyway. Right, it was a guy on one of those videos. He talked about it, and I looked it up in more detail. The guy that was taking the mickey, what was his name now? What's his channel name? He was taking the mickey out of Tyler Klockner being arrest video, and he's debunking some of his older videos that he put up with, what was it now? the Mars base and all that sort of stuff. He was quite good actually. He was very factual, but yeah, he's a little cartoon character. But he talked about carbon-14 when Tyler brought up dinosaurs being only something ridiculous, like 3,000 years old or something. And he said he forgot to mention that all that information that was on those websites was linked to creation theory people, religious people, not actually scientists. So anyway, just carry on reading this.
The Dreamtime is a commonly used term for describing important features of Aboriginal spiritual beliefs and existence. It is not generally well understood by non-Indigenous people. Aboriginals believe that the Dreamtime was way back, at the very beginning. The land and the people were created by the spirits. They made the rivers, streams, water holes, the land, hills, rocks, plants and animals. It is believed that the spirits gave them their hunting tools and each tribe its land, their totems and their dreaming. The Aboriginals believed that the entire world was made by their ancestors way back in the very beginning of time, the Dreamtime. The ancestors made everything.
Yeah. Looks like a modern art version there. That one's quite nice. They do make nice things for t-shirts, I guess. Good for tourist industry. So, yeah. Was there anything else we really need to look at that one? Various sites named Aboriginal people. Get onto the UFO one, that's a bit more interesting. Dreamtime is the foundation of Aboriginal religion and culture. It dates back some 65,000 years. So does that mean that they were around that long? Is it the story of events that have happened, how the universe came to be, how human beings were created, and how their creator intended for humans to function within the world as they knew it? Aboriginal people understood that dream time as a beginning that never ended. They held the belief that the dream time is a period on a continuum of past, present, and future. Oh, so that sounds multi-dimensional there, right? The Aborigines learned about the beginnings through their Dreamtime creation folklores. So there you go. It's not based on fact. That told of the momentous actions of the creators. The myths were the foundation of Aboriginal society and provided certainty about existence. Australian Aborigines believe that the land they occupied was once not in existence like it is today. It was free from form or life or exist, empty. They unquestionably believe that this was the way things were because ancestors had said so. So that's religion right there, isn't it? Not science. True, it was science. It was during what has become known as the Dreamtime, the land, mountains, hills, rivers, plants. Dreamtime to me, I would suggest that it's imaginary, right? That's what I would have thought by even the word itself. Creators made men, women, and animals, declared the laws of the land and how people were to behave to one another. Customs of food supply and distribution, rituals of initiation, and ceremonies of death which are required to be performed so that the spirit of the dead, travels peacefully to his and her spirit place. Sounds very similar to other primitive cultures here, though, doesn't it? Some people in Amazon, they actually, when the dead die, they actually carve them up and actually eat them so they become part of their own body, which is kind of disgusting when you think about it, but yeah. I'll just post a link to that one. Dreamtime. And what are we saying here? Rob, what are you up to? Carbon dating and all that stuff. Maybe a dumb question, but how do they know the cave paintings are like? Alright. Yep, various dating. I suppose we could do a quick thing on carbon dating. Let's see. Limits of carbon. I should have kept my searches information on it. Despite the usefulness of carbon dating, has a number of limitations. First, so let's just click on that. Radiocarbon dating, also known as carbon-14 dating, is a technique used by archaeologists and historians to determine the age of organic material. So apparently carbon-14 is in the atmosphere and plants absorb it, right? And that turns into wood, which is carbon. And carbon-14 is an unstable atom which breaks down and becomes carbon-12. I think that's what happens. So this is probably what we'll probably talk about here. Theoretically, be used to date anything that was alive any time during the last 60,000 years. But I think there's a technical problem there. I think it's really only about 20,000 years that it's really only accurate. 24, something like that. The technique is based on measuring the ratio of two isotopes of carbon. Carbon has an atomic number of 6, atomic weight 12, 3 isotopes, carbon 12, 13, and 14. The numbers 12, 13 refer to the total number of protons we've covered in previous lives, all that sort of stuff. Carbon 12 is by far the most abundant carbon isotope, which you expect because it breaks down to it. Theory behind radiation: terrestrial carbon contains virtually no carbon-14, which means on the ground, since any that may have been presented would have long since decayed into the stable nitrogen-14. Where's nitrogen-14 come into it? Chemical reaction. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, however, contains a mixture of carbon-12, 14, blah blah, which I already said. Living plants absorb carbon dioxide out of the air and incorporate it into their structure, which I already said. When plants die, the carbon-14 starts to decay. Okay. Measuring the ratio of the two isotopes before determines how long it has been since. And an atom comes entirely from eaten plants, which makes sense, or from eaten other animals. Technique used before to date human remains. Why doesn't the carbon-14 in air decay along with the terrestrial? It does. The trick is that carbon-14 is continuously replenished in a complex reaction that involves high energy cosmic rays, blah blah blah. So it's talking about 14 nitrogen here. In the process, nitrogen 14, 7 protons, blah blah, gains a neutron, loses a proton, blah blah. Is it like being in science at school again? Atmospheric therefore remains relatively stable at about 1.5 parts per billion. Blah blah blah. It goes on and on. What I wanted to know is what the years when carbon-14 was not able to be used. What is used? See, you guys on the side chat, we've got this going on another tangent here. What is used when carbon dating no good? Let's see if that comes up with anything. What did I do wrong? Errors are feared in carbon dating. We know that. Okay. So if the person dies, right, the carbon-14 in the body starts decaying because they're not replenishing it with new carbon-14 through eating stuff, is what they're saying there. Called into question, major flaw. Let's have a look at that one. Still, it's not what I asked. I said, what do you use once carbon-14 is no good? Sounds good. Don't like these pop-ups. One of the most essential tools to determine an ancient object's age, carbon dating might not be as accurate as we once thought. When the news is announced on the discovery of an archaeological find, we often hear about the age. Deemed the gold standard of archaeology, the method was developed in the late 1940s is based on the idea that radioactive carbon is being constantly created in the atmosphere and combined with atmospheric oxygen, which then is CO2, which then is incorporated into plants because they absorb it. Or they eject it, don't they? We breathe it in. Oh no, they absorb it. We eject. We absorb the carbon from it, and release, and the oxygen from it. We take in oxygen, and then carbon is created, and then we breathe it out. Or maybe it's a way for us to get rid of carbon. Yeah, that's more my area of expertise, biology. I didn't like that particular one in science. So the plants absorb that in the atmosphere, they split out the oxygen, send it into the air, which we breathe, and this carbon is then formed into wood. So that makes perfect sense for plant matter that we then eat. We're mostly water, aren't we? Water and a few trace elements, really. We're like a big blobby jellyfish with bones of calcium. So we've probably not really got that much carbon in our bodies. That's another question. How much carbon? I'm going on a tangent here from UFOs. Our bodies. Does it give us a percentage? Let's talk about DNA. Carbon usually bonds with hydrogen and oxygen. Yeah, we know that. Carbon in a vast number of molecules in their bodies. So it's added to complex change, right? Change with oxygen and hydrogen. That's what they're saying. So does that make enzymes? Carbon is basic building block to most cells in the body. Helps with cellular respiration, by which your body releases energy. So there you go. Again, we're talking about energy. It all breaks down to energy again. Recycling energy. But yeah, I wanted to know what the other tests were. We still didn't find out. Yeah, I found a page that summed it up really good the other day, and now I can't find it. Find an age of everything. So if that brings it up. I think it may have been some metals that break down slower, right, than carbon, and by measuring how much it is, and silicates and stuff. But it had a special name, and it's just not popping up for me. I suppose I have to leave it for another day, actually. Carbon, agent, what we can't use. Go on, so I must have a sentence. Let's have a look at that one. I should know, but can't remember everything. Common materials for radiocarbon dating. So there we go. Comes down, soaks in the plants. Half-life, contamination. Still won't tell us what the other ones are. There is 2 other ones they use for dating. Just can't remember the names of it. It's really frustrating. Let's see. Does that tell us? There we go. But because carbon decays relatively quickly, only works for rocks younger than 50,000 years. So in order to date older fossils, scientists look at layers of indigenous rock or volcanic ash above and below the fossil. And that was not what I was looking for. Carbon dating could stop working as Earth's atmosphere. Doomsday prediction. So, let's just have a quick read of that anyway. Pop-ups. Technique used to determine age of organic artifacts and fields. Yeah, we know that. Where's the headline gone? Could be possible, but why? Climate physics. Here we go. Climate gate. Imperial College London finds that today's rate of fossil fuel emissions is skewing the ratio of carbon that scientists use to determine objects' age. Well, the plants are living all the carbon that the humans are making, then in that case. Well, we have to come back to that one. What else do we get? We did the Dreamtime. Let's close that one down. This one here. Aboriginal legends reveal ancient sequence of science. So let's have a look into this one. Why I get a drink. Gotta go wrap up soon.
Scientists are beginning to tap into a wellspring of knowledge buried in the ancient stories of Australia's Aboriginal peoples. But the loss of indigenous languages could mean it is too late to learn from them. The Lucha people, native to the remote deserts of Central Australia, once told stories about a fire devil coming down from the sun, crashing into Earth and killing everything in the vicinity. The local people feared if they strayed too close to this land they might reignite some otherworldly creature. The legend describes the landing of a meteor in Australia's central desert about 4,700 years ago, says University of New South Wales astrophysicist Duran Hamacher. It would have been a dramatic and fiery event, with the meteor blazing across the sky. As it broke apart, large fragments of metal-rich rock would have crashed to Earth with explosive force, creating a dozen giant craters. The Northern Territory site, which was discovered in the 1930s by white prospectors with the help of Lucha guides, is today known as the Henbury Meteorites Conservation Reserve.
So there you go. That's how a legend is born, or mythology. a fire demon come down, as they call it, which was a meteorite, a heavy, fairly big one. Would have caused a bit of earthquake as well, wouldn't it? And then we got the gigantic wave. So if it hit out to sea there on the coast, you would have like a mile-high wave coming over. Scare the crap out of you, that's for sure. It's probably worse than a paranormal ghost attacking.
Gigantic wave. Mr. Hamacher, who runs an indigenous astronomy program at UNS, says evidence is mounting that Aboriginal stories hold clues about events from Australia's ancient past. Last year, he travelled to Victoria with tsunami expert James Goff, also from UNS, to visit members of the Guntmara people. They described this gigantic wave coming very far inland and killing everybody except those who were up on the mountain tops, and they actually name all the different locations where people survived, says Mr. Hamacher. He and Mr. Goff took core samples from locations between 500 meters and 1 kilometer (0.6 miles) inland, and at each spot, they found a layer of ocean sediment, about 2 meters down, indicating that a tsunami likely washed over the area hundreds, or possibly thousands, of years ago. The samples need further analysis, but Mr. Hamacher says it is a very exciting result that suggests the legend could be true. Earlier this year, another team of researchers presented a paper arguing that stories from Australia's coastal Aboriginal communities might represent genuine and unique observations of sea level rises that occurred between 7,000 and 11,000 years ago.
Fascinating, huh? That's real science now, where they're sort of taking ancient stories and actually using science to confirm it. So yeah, you can see here, if that hit you on the head, you'd be dead. It's pretty lot of iron in it, iron meteorites, so it's not going to burn up very quick in the atmosphere. Fat chicken, there we go, there's that magic word. I've got quite it all on the end there, but that'll do.
Fact-checking the stories they analysed, which had been documented in colonial times, referred to water levels rising over coastal areas that were once dry. By looking at historical records of sea level rise following the last glacial period, about 20,000 years ago, they were able to match the stories to coinciding dates. Mr. Reid says the relative isolation of Australia's indigenous people, living for 50,000 years more or less free from cultural disruptions, and conservative nature of their culture could help explain why there is so much detail in their stories. Aboriginal people have very particular beliefs about the importance of telling stories properly, and about stories being told by the right people, he says. They also employ a rigid kin-based, cross-generational system of fact-checking stories, involving grandchildren, parents, and elders, which Mr. Reid says doesn't seem to be used by other cultures. This extreme conservatism and adherence to accuracy can also be seen in rock paintings, drawings and engravings, which were often used to support oral legends, says Les Basil, an anthropologist and member of Sydney's the Royal People.
So we've also got secret knowledge here at the end, yeah. Isn't it? We've heard that word used so much with the Dugon people. I sort of hate secret knowledge. Obviously it's not secret because they're talking about it. But, oh, that'll do. What I forgot to mention about the Dugon people, if you put it backwards, it means no God, which I kind of find interesting. And they had a lot of missionaries approach them to try and convert them. Maybe they call themselves the Dugon with no God backwards as a sort of a joke. Who knows? Where does the word come from, you see? So, yeah. I forgot to mention that last time, but I did post it in a comment on the actual video.
Secret knowledge, but Mr. Basil doesn't think Aboriginal communities are interested in sharing their knowledge with modern Australia. Non-Indigenous academics recognise that some Aboriginal communities are suspicious of outsiders. But Mr. Hamacher says his research group has been approached by a number of Aboriginal communities keen to tell their stories. He says this sharing must be met with a giving back process that benefits the Indigenous community. His team, for instance, has developed a range of educational materials relating to astronomy, which are now taught in remote schools. It is all part of a growing recognition that indigenous knowledge has a lot to offer the scientific community. Australia's National Science Organisation, the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation, CSIRO, is working with indigenous communities to improve environmental management practices in order to prevent wildfires and improve ecological health and biodiversity. But there is a problem. Indigenous languages are dying off at an alarming rate, making it increasingly difficult for scientists and other experts to benefit from such knowledge. More than 100 languages have already become extinct since white settlement. About 145 indigenous languages are still spoken in Australia by at least one person, but a 2014 report by the Australian Institute of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies found that 75% of these were considered critically endangered. Related topics.
So where was the secret knowledge then? Saying that they won't share it and because they want something back. Give me $1 million and I'll tell you about the lizard men. Okay, on to the next one. Project 1947. There's that 47 year ago. So this is obviously a website that's using the term 47B Roswell, I guess. This one's quite an interesting page though. On UFOs, Oz ancient UFOs from the local natives here. Australian culture, possible UFO encounters, and again we're talking about myths and sky beings, which we've just covered, so we won't go over that. Ancient traces. There are numerous elements of Aboriginal lore in which corroborative parallels can be seen with modern day UFO experiences. To argue that identical stimuli may have been involved may be foolish, as it's impossible to prove either way. Nevertheless, some accounts are startling. So we'll just scroll down a bit here. You can read it just for yourselves anyway. After the manifestation of Demad, how do you say that word? Left behind all his damage, and Supreme Being himself ascended once again into the sky. So let's read that one. So that doesn't sound like a meteorite coming down, that one. That sounds like something going in the opposite direction.
Earnestly the old men impress on the youth the terrible force of the original Jurunga, by pointing out the baldness of the surrounding hills and the damaged bark of the trees struck by Jamar when he whirled the bull roarer. It smashed the rocks of the foreshore. After the manifestation of Jamar, which left behind all this damage, the Supreme Being himself ascended once again into the sky with his Jurunga. Such accounts lost in prehistory are full of emotive similarities, but beyond that they are only diverting tales of the Australian Aboriginal Dreamtime. 2. According to Bundjalung tribal tradition, Salty Lagoon, north of the Broadwater National Park, near Evans Head, on the NSW North Coast, was home to a female ancestral being called Gorngan. Described as tall and slim, with long flowing hair, beautiful hands and long fingernails, when she moved between Salty Lagoon and Wardell, Gorngan often appeared as a shining light. The legends indicate she would try to seduce men into the sea or the lagoon. Tradition has it that Gorngan flew from Wollongong, landed on a beach near Salty Lagoon, and turned into a black rock. 3.
Okay, so they're broken up into various stories here. Men of the High Desert. Just scroll down on that one. A burning towel. That sounds like a meteorite, doesn't it? Coming down. But then we're moving on. So let's see. North of Windgun, underground coal seam has been burning for 5,000 years. Sydney newspapers, March 1828, reported that a farm worker saw the mountain area on fire, initially thought to be a volcano by the settlers who saw it. It was soon verified as resulting from an underground burning coal seam. Burning Mountain Natural Reserve was created to highlight the existence. It was authentically named, very terrible small font, by local Aborigines as Wingham. So that's a folk tale about the burning there, which is actually coal seam, so that's nothing to do with aliens. And E.T. Elf in Modera Humpy. Let's have a read of that one. Sounds kind of like our goblins again.
Annette Elf in a Mandura Humpy. In 1982, a 67-year-old woman saw a picture of it, Steven Spielberg's cute alien creation. It made her think of an experience she had as a 15-year-old girl, near the estuary at Mandurah, Western Australia. She supplied a report to the Perth UFO Research Group which stated, "In 1930 I was sitting reading with my parents in a humpy, on a block in Mandurah, in Greary Road, by the light of a hurricane lamp, with the door partly open. The time was about 8 p.m. as we went to bed early. A little pink creature walked in. It was about 24 inches in height, with large ears, big bulbous eyes, covered with a film, small hands, large feet, slit of a mouth, no hair, and shiny as if wet or oily. We were terrified and my father went white, and being a religious man said it was the work of the devil. Picking up a prawning net, he picked it up in it and it made a noise like and my father put it outside. We never saw it again and went to bed feeling very scared. This was in 1930 and I never thought any more about it until I saw a picture of it, although only its eyes were the same. It did not have a round body, more straight down like a child's body. I cannot remember seeing any sex organs. Its shape was like an elf. 7.
So what's that? Could it be 24 inches? So what's that? 2 foot? It's pretty small for even for a goblin. Could it be a baby goblin that sort of lost its way and ended up in their property? 1930. So have they got goblins in Australia as well? Who knows? They've got a lot of underground stuff there too, haven't they? Especially in the opal mines where they dig a lot of holes underground and they live underground. So, what else we got? Aboriginal woman's abduction experience of 1933. So this is probably one of the first cases I've heard documented. Because it normally started with Betty and Barney Hill, and now we've got one that's predating that. So yeah, let's just read of that one. Yeah, the Christmas tree, I kind of like it because it looks like a UFO. So if I drag that down, right, make it go down, kind of looks like a UFO in the corner there. But probably I'll get rid of it. Won't use it again after today because it is fully in the new year. It's about time you take down your Christmas decorations. It's bad luck. But that's a UFO Christmas tree. It's a special one. As they're saying in the side chat there.
An Aboriginal woman's abduction experience in 1933. Australian Mysteries researcher Rex Gilroy records an intriguing tale allegedly from 1933 that reportedly involved an Aboriginal woman in a UFO abduction experience at the isolated locality of Discovery Well, on the northern edge of the Great Sandy Desert, in Western Australia. The story echoes the tribal legends and traditions of men and women being abducted by sky gods or culture heroes in a Dreamtime and the initiation experiences of Aboriginal men of high degree or shamans. In Rex Gilroy's account, the Aboriginal woman claimed her tribe had been frightened off from Discovery Well when a large shiny egg suddenly came down out of the sky. In broad daylight, the strange object flew low over them. Several beings, described as strange, grey-skinned and man-like, came out of the egg. The woman said she was stunned by an object carried by one of the beings. Her story indicates she was carried aboard. Inside the egg, the interior was glowing. She was strapped to a shining table and apparently experimented with. The woman told stockmen of her experience, but perhaps not surprisingly they laughed at her. 9.
So, what's that sound like, Robert? We've heard that before. Egg-shaped craft. Little beings inside. Not goblins, though. And here, it's almost talking about Dreamtime when they're doing the Dreamtime, right? So, did they open up a portal that allows the aliens to come through? More questions than answers here. So there's a wee bit left here at the end here.
This 1933 tale also anticipates the spate of UFO abduction tales that would virtually dominate the UFO landscape by the 1990s. It was not until 1957 that the sexual abduction experience of Antonio Villas Boas from Brazil occurred. The famous Betty and Barney Hill abduction story in the United States did not take place until 1961. Neither story was well known until the mid-1960s.
Okay, so what's that? I'm beginning hurry up for dinner. Tales of Featherfoot, phantom pregnancies. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so what else we got? Men in Black. You didn't see that one there, Robert. We missed that story here. There's sexual. What's it say? Assailants were often described as being like Men in Black. So maybe read out that one, and then I'll wrap up. Aboriginal UFO story. Looks like there's a few more here. Questions of perspective. What else we got? Aboriginal is levitated through a closed window. So that sounds like another good story there. So maybe you could finish off some of those next time. Last bits, read them out for next Sunday. So I'll leave that tab there, I think. But I'll read out this one here. This sounds quite interesting.
Tales of Featherfoot and phantom pregnancies. John Cannot, who does a mail run in the Kimberleys, has heard a lot of strange stories from Aboriginals. He told me of tales of sexual contact of an abduction kind that were apparently very common amongst Aboriginal women in the Great Sandy and Central Deserts. John told me this before I was aware of Rex Gilroy's story. Since about 1986, Central Desert Aboriginal women have told him of Featherfoot spirits, which do not walk on the ground, they walk in the air. They can move through walls and things. They can come and punish people, which he connected with possible UFO abduction situations. They talk about waking up and spirits having sex with them, having babies, and no baby ever comes. Often their stomachs swelled up, then go down. Their sexual assailants were often described as being like Men in Black. It was often hard to see their eyes. Phantom or false pregnancies or missing fetuses feature in UFO abduction lore. The concept of spirit children is also widespread. Such comparisons are fascinating, but ultimately they are difficult to interpret, given the cultural filtering and distortion that is likely in such a fringe area. In about 1989, John's father-in-law, an Aborigine, told him that when he was a young man, in about the 1930s, camping with a group of Aborigines, before the white man took them off their land, they saw a green light spinning around in the sky. It landed behind trees. Lots of little men shining with green light came. They walked around the Aborigines, looking at them, and then walked back to the UFO, which then took off. 10.
So there you go. But that wasn't on the cave paintings, was it? Featherfoot, phantom pregnancies. So is it paranormal, UFOs? You can see the connection again, can't you? Looks like we've got a few people dropping off now. I think it was too much for them. But we'll maybe read out the rest of that. Have a look at that to start with next live Sunday. And get onto the Frank box. So we've got a few tabs left. So I'm just going to wrap it up there, guys. And because I've got to go and do chores. And there you go, I can exit my tree there for you, Robert. And yeah, I'll just wind down now, send off the credits. We don't have really too much interest in this live stream today. According to the stats, current average is about 7 watching, 13 minutes attention span. But I did ramble a wee bit, yeah, it wasn't because I didn't know the topic very well either, so it was a learning experience for me as well as everybody else. Howdy hum. So just going to wind up my credits. Please like and share. Have a good night. Stay safe on the road. See you next time. Probably Saturday. And just kick off the music. Good night. It's way behind.